Thank you.
Can we get started?
We will get started. If those of you on Zoom right now would just mute, that would be great. Yeah. Okay, we have a sellout. This is amazing. Thank you all for coming. I'm John Sargent. I chair this. And so we'll get started. We're going to follow our agenda. Chief Bachman with the fire department will be here, hopefully arriving about 7:30. And does want us to wait on that presentation until he's here. Michelle is here also in person. We'll be giving the presentation on the fire department. So we will start our meeting. Welcome everyone. So we'll start with our roll call. Vice Chair Curtis.
Here.
Council Member Pavlinek.
Here.
Council Member DeWitt.
Here.
Council Member Sapir.
Here.
Council Member Ramirez Ruiz.
Here.
And Council Member Zhang is not here. Okay. Thank you. I also saw that we have Jim Hansen, who is from our East Richmond Neighborhood Council, also here. So got a lot of interest. Glad that you guys are here as well.
Glad you've done this, John. Thank you.
Thank you. First, our treasurer's report, Ronnie.
We're still sitting at 1,183 pending fee reimbursements for the coming music festival. So we have, it's still in the works, but we should have an update and have everything reconciled by next month.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, next item is approval of minutes of the June 18th meeting. Looking for a motion. All right.
Second.
And a second.
Chair, I
Yes.
have a correction.
Okay, go ahead.
On the page 3, under item number 9, the last paragraph, but toward the bottom of the page, it says regarding the festival, there will be history, quiz questions, and math questions. I promise you, there will be no math questions at the festival. I think it should be changed from math to MAC, Municipal Advisory Council questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I even missed that myself, Joanne. All right, seeing that, I didn't see anything else. Any other corrections? Okay, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed? All right, thank you. So we will go to our presentations. We are going to follow the agenda, which will put the fire district at the end as we await Chief Bachman. Okay, so we'll first presentation from Supervisor John Joya's office. I see John is with us. John, you or Ronnie, which would like to go?
So I'm going to start off. Thanks. Good to see a full house. I know a lot of folks are there on the fire grant, which will be on the agenda. I thought I'd start about garbage, since that is a hot topic right now. As you know, Republic, there was a interruption of garbage service about a week ago. I have done a lot of posting on Nextdoor and social media and email to update the public. And I think most of you may know that there is a labor dispute at a Republic landfill facility near Stockton. The employees at that facility are on strike. And what has happened is members of the union from Stockton have gone to a number of the Republic distribution facilities around the Bay Area for informational picketing. And the local drivers have honored that picket line and have are doing essentially engaging in a sympathy strike for the workers in Stockton. The result is all of West County, and this gets to the issue of the franchise agreements, all of West County except El Cerrito and Kensington, which happen to have actually the highest rates, garbage rates in West County, are served by Republic. The highest garbage rates actually are in El Cerrito and Kensington. They are served by a different company. So basically, all the 5 cities and the unincorporated areas are covered under various franchise agreements, either with the city or with the county for those areas. And as of yesterday, Republic has restarted garbage only pickup using Republic employees from other states. And so they have been bringing in employees from other states who are not members of this union. So they are picking up garbage this week, and I am told they will be working on Saturday as well. And Republic has advised the public to put out your garbage only carts by the curb, along with any other bagged garbage that doesn't fit, and that will be picked up. We don't know what day the garbage will be picked up. I was told today that East Richmond was being picked up currently, and all of you can tell me if that's the case or not, that East Richmond yesterday and today is being picked up. I live in Richmond, and my garbage has not yet been picked up. So, and then Republic also announced that starting tomorrow, people can take up to 4 bags of recycled material to their transfer station. Remember last week they had said residents could take up to 4 bags of trash to the transfer station. They are adding now recycled materials. I've been in contact with both the Teamsters and Republic, and I've encouraged a agreement to be reached as soon as possible that is fair that provides fair wages and benefits to the workers. They are negotiating. I do not know the progress of those negotiations. Another point, I have said the county has sent last week a letter to Republic for breach of their franchise agreement, and then sent another legal letter this week with regard to liquidated damages. I think I don't know why, but we are the only jurisdiction of West County that has so far sent those letters, although I'm told that some cities around the Bay Area that don't have garbage service, like in San Mateo County or San Jose or Fremont, have sent some similar letters, because this is happening all over the Bay Area. I have said to Republic, as well as publicly, and also speaking to our county staff, that we expect there to be some rate relief for customers. We won't know what that rate relief should be until we know how long this disruption lasts. And I think the county letters are legally laying the foundation for us, and hopefully the various cities take the same position. You are covered under the county franchise under the unincorporated area. Like Richmond and San Pablo, Pinole, and Hercules are covered under city franchise agreements. So the other point that has been mentioned, Republic has said they believe they're going to start picking up recycling or green waste next week. We will see. So that is a brief update. Again, I've been in constant contact with both parties, and I've been very clear about the importance of having rate relief. So what does this mean in terms of garbage franchise? I don't know if Ronnie distributed. It just so happened that we put together a brief 2-page memo or all about garbage service in West County. I don't know if you got that. Was the MAC sent that, Ronnie?
Yes, that was sent middle to late of
Okay.
last week. Yeah.
So basically, the 4 cities and the county had actually a few months ago recently extended the franchise agreement with Republic. Republic, there's two in this. I'll summarize this. This is relevant for understanding this. There are 2 agreements: an agreement for collection and an agreement for post-collection. Post-collection is an agreement between the West Contra Costa Integrated Waste Management Authority, which are all the cities, and their agreement is with Republic for the transfer station and the recycling center. In other words, our collected trash is taken there. And then that has been up for renewal, and there's been a slight extension. And then Pinole, Hercules, San Pablo, Richmond, and the county, all in separate processes, recently extended the franchise agreement with some new services and CPI rate increases. I'll explain those in a second. They're in the memo that you have. And so I was going to give that report even before there was this disruption, just to give you a background. So you will see on the chart, the lowest garbage rates in West County are yours and San Pablo's, about the same. I think the county negotiated and San Pablo negotiated the two lowest rates. Obviously, that's not solace now, given what's happening. And as I say, I'm going to be working to get rate relief on this for this period of time. So if you look at the rates, you will see in fact, let me pull it out here, Ronnie. I think you sent it, and I'm going to look for what I have and pull out that memo. You'll see our rates, the collection and post-collection rates combined, and those are in 2 separate agreements, are about $50 a month, you will see. I'm sorry, I'm going to pull up the most recent memo, because it's now lost in all the emails on the other issue. So you will see that the county's rates are $50.96, San Paulo's $50.66. Richmond's is $55.83, so $5 more. The highest are in Kensington and El Cerrito. Kensington's about 61, El Cerrito's 68. So they range from about $50 a month to $68 a month. Again, both cover collection and post-collection. The new services that were added to the agreement that covers East Richmond, the major one was we are now contracting with Republic to engage in regular twice weekly illegal dumping collection. So in order to pick up illegally dumped material faster, they will be doing routes in the unincorporated area in order to pick up illegal dumping at least twice a week. We also obtained more debris boxes to increase our community cleanups. And we added a new county scheduled curbside bag pickup. Right now you can call to get a curbside bag pickup. We added an additional day that would be scheduled. And then something that should help with illegal dumping, a new on-call bulky item collection and bag cleanup for multifamily. So apartments and condos now have that same on-call service to get bulky item and bag cleanup, which they didn't have before. Last weekend, we asked Republics, and so did some of the cities, to provide us free dumpsters so we could have some community dumpsters available last Saturday, which we did. We filled up 5 dumpsters, just the county. We did one in El Sobrante and one in Terra Hills that anybody could drop off there. Richmond had some locations you could drop off as well, and those where we had asked Republic to provide those for free, so that we were out there. I know I was out there for a few hours, talked to a lot of folks who were dumping their trash in the dumpsters. So that it would be, and I'm open for questions. That's the sort of the brief report. And as I say, we have a couple letters out legally, and we're how the rate relief looks will depend upon how long this lasts. And obviously, this has been a concern about whether it would become a public health issue. Our county health officer who has been monitoring it, and if this had continued much longer on the garbage side, I think it would become a public health issue. I think the health officer believes that if the garbage is picked up this week, that is then hopefully not going to happen, but they're continuing to monitor it. So that is the garbage report, and I'll open to any questions by the MAC first.
Yeah, first, council members, any questions for Supervisor Joy? Okay, anyone in the room here, any questions for Supervisor Joy? Yes.
I would like to know what plans are for the green can pickup, which is where really most of the food garbage is going, as opposed to the regular trash, which should be just like dry.
Well, I guess, yeah. So, well, the only, as you know, the green waste are yard clippings and food waste.
Yes.
The yard waste is less of an issue. The food waste is the larger issue, right? And then recycling is recycling, and then the trash. I think the trash obviously presents the greatest health risk, followed by potentially the food waste in the green waste. I've been told by Republic that they are hoping to start up green waste and recycling pickup next week. Obviously, if there's an agreement with the union in Stockton, the regular workers would come back. I don't know how long the sympathy strike will last. Sometimes the union may say, well, we don't. They may allow the workers to cross the picket line and not have a sympathy strike, or as Republic may bring in more of its workers from out of state. We don't know any of this, right? My sense is they're at the table. They've been negotiating, but we don't know how quickly this is going to end. But Republic said that they were hoping and planning to start recycled and green waste pickup next week, but I have not heard anything definitive. The only thing that's new as of tomorrow, they are accepting recycled material from individuals at the transfer station.
Any other questions from anyone in the room here for Supervisor Joya? Okay, anyone on Zoom? Ronnie, I can't really see if anybody's, can they put their hand up on there?
They have the raise hand feature, but I think
Somebody put something in the
Lizzie-
chat.
I see Lizzie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see Lizzie.
Okay, I
Oh.
typed it in the chat as well. I was wondering if you could expand on the point that was in the summary of new services. So curbside bagged pickup day, what is that?
Yes, good question. So way back when, a long time ago, there used to be scheduled pickup of these bulky item bag trash. In other words, they would occur on a certain day or two every year. And so when you saw your neighbors start to put it out, you'd put it out, right? That kind of thing. Well, many years ago, the franchise agreements were all changed so that your curbside pickup was on call. In other words, each resident could call for it. What's interesting is the data showed that people are using it less because they often forget that this is a benefit. In other words, when it was a scheduled date, more people would put their material out at the curb. When it was on call, um, people could call any time for it, but often forgot. So what we decided to do is add that as an additional benefit on top of the on-call. So instead of 2 day times, instead of one time a year on having that, you have it twice a year, once when you want it, and another when it's scheduled and publicized in advance. So that's what that new service is in advance. You'll hear about a date. We'll figure out when that will be, and you put it out. So you'll have two opportunities.
So, from what I know about Kensington, they have something similar, but theirs does not have to be bagged. Is this different?
Yeah, their rates are higher. Their rates are substantially higher, and they did not have food waste until just recently. They have a very small company, and so I'm just looking at it. I mean, their rates are about $11 more a month, so they're about 20% higher. So they may have some additional things, and they also only have 32-gallon carts and not 35. So yeah, it's a different franchise with a different company, and I don't know all the services they have. I know they recently added food waste to the green waste, which they did not have until just this year or last year. So it may be that it's in here they have to be, it can be a bulky item, there's bagged. The bulky items obviously are not bagged, like if you put a sofa out there. So what we'll make sure is all of these are publicized under the new agreement. And as I say, the other new service is that multifamily will have this available now, which they didn't previously. And we believe that led to more illegal dumping when apartments and condos didn't have that service. So that's been added. And again, the other thing is they now are going to take we're increasing in addition to Public Works, Republic going and picking up illegally dumped material in the roadways. That's probably the most expensive service of the extra new services is getting them to, and it's on top of what Public Works already does.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Is there anyone else on Zoom that has a question for Supervisor Joy? Okay, all right, John, is there anything else that you wanted to cover?
No, if Ronnie has anything briefly, he can. I'll stay on a little bit. I may not be able to stay on for the fire, but I wanted to be on for this, and we'll post so anybody can get this memo we've done about how garbage rates work and how that works. I know some people have said, "Wow, what can we do?" And of course, the answer is under our agreement, we're going to be pursuing rate relief. I mean, we've already sent the letter on liquidated damages, but we don't want the money. We want ratepayers to get the money.
Okay,
And we want the service obviously back soon, and we've tried to stay in contact.
okay. All right, thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
John, just so you know, we've got at least 50 people here. The room is full. 75?
Good. I think you want to get on to the fire. Who knows? Maybe you'll change the order on fire. I know a lot of people there for the, but yes, for fire issues. And just to say, I know you've got two individuals from fire on, and just so everybody knows, we are using also Measure X funding, our sales tax funding, to provide about $4.5 million every year for vegetation management along the urban interface, both crews that we have and programs and grants to residents. And Michelle can talk about that. So that's an ongoing funding that we made a decision to do, and it's available along the interface. We're also using Measure X to reopen the Pinole Valley Fire Station, which is on the front lines of a fire that would come out of Briones Valley. And I know you're going to hear about the grant issue. The other thing you should know, and maybe Ronnie, you can explain this. Last year, there was an entity formed, and I'm currently the chair of it. It's called the East Bay Wildfire Coalition of Governments, and it includes the Contra Costa and Alameda County and the cities of Pinole and Richmond, El Cerrito, Berkeley, Oakland. Um, and we have a presentation at our meeting next week from the East Bay Regional Park District about their planning of what they're doing. So what the purpose was to have all the cities and counties along the East Bay Hills work together. We got a presentation from East Bay Mud. We got a in fact, those slides, we can put on our website where to find those. Those slides are on the website. If you go to the website, East Bay Wildfire Coalition of Governments, you will see our meetings and you will see the presentations. And in the past meeting, we had one from East Bay Mud, we had one from PG&E, we have one coming up um, from the Park District. And what's relevant for East Bay for East Bay Mud's presentation for East Richmond is I was on the East Bay Mud Board in the 1990s. I was on during the Oakland Hills fire. And one of the things we learned from the Oakland Hills fire is when power goes out and water is used up, if the pumping plant doesn't get power, there's no way to pump the water back up into the reservoir that's been emptied, either to fight fires or have water in the community. So I remember back in the 90s, what we did when I was on the board at East Bay Mud is started putting in standby generators at pumping plants. So East Bay Mud has expanded on that. That was part of their presentation to our meeting recently, and they have increased they basically have either at a pumping plant or station nearby the ability to bring in these standby generators to have these pumping plants continue to operate even if there is a power outage so that the reservoirs can get replenished for water. So that's a big improvement that they've done since the Oakland Hills fire. I was on the board during the Oakland Hills fire. So that's something that helps protect East Richmond because your water is served by reservoirs that are fed through pumping plants.
Yeah, John, we still don't have a generator on Carquinez, which is our pumping station.
So in the presentation they said they don't need to station. Well, here's what the professionals and engineers have said there. We questioned them about this because I asked the same question because I think your question was a good one. They said they have either stationed them at pumping plants or nearby to position them because depending on where the fire is and what pumping plants may go out, they can move them around and place them in the proper. So they say that all the pumping plants essentially would be made operational either through through a state one that's already positioned there or one that will be brought there. That was their answer to us when we questioned them on that exact issue.
Yes, and I did get when I was at your fire meeting with Victoria at El Cerrito City Hall from East Bay Mud, they did say that they are keeping our water tank up on Del Monte full all the time. So I didn't get that much of an answer.
Yeah.
All right.
Do we know like how long it would take to get the generator over there? Because if it's full and there's a wildfire, how long does that take?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a while for the water to get depleted from the reservoir. So I think they would position them and get them in place before water is depleted. And obviously, here is the issue no one can solve. If we have if we have a major urban wildfire, like what happened in Los Angeles or parts of Santa Rosa, where embers fly ahead of the line of the fire and burn urban areas. There is no water system really in this state that has the water pressure to fight a fire that large. And East Bay Mud said that, water districts say this. So just know I think there's this expectation we have because the water pressure system is not designed for, the fire flow capacity is a lot greater than the capacity needed for, potable water in our homes. And so that is always the footnote. If there were a huge fire that spread into Richmond, similar to what happened in LA or Santa Rosa a few years ago, there's no guarantee that the existing water system could accommodate that.
Members, any other comment on this? Yes. Okay, anyone here in the room have anything else they'd like to ask the supervisor on this topic? Anyone on Zoom have any comments or questions for Supervisor Joya on this topic? Okay, John, thank you. Ronnie, did you have something?
Yeah, I'll make my update really brief because I don't have quite the itinerary tonight. Let's see, let's get in frame here. All right, great. Short and sweet. The noise ordinance task force recap. The noise ordinance task force was held rescheduled for this past Tuesday. And so the Department of Conservation and Development, or DCD, will be reviewing ongoing concerns and community input, and summary results and next steps will be shared publicly once they are finalized. Jumping down to our board and commissions update. For anyone, we have a lot of people here who probably have not heard this announcement, but there are lots of a good number of vacancies for residents that are interested in public service. And so open seats that are available currently are the Assessment Appeals Board, Economic Opportunity Council, and the Emergency Medical Care Committee. And so if you'd like an extensive list, a full list, I can send that out to you via the newsletter this coming Friday, so you can reach out to me directly. Let's see, what else do we have here?
Ron, just real quick on the noise ordinance. So is that about fireworks? Is that what that's about?
Not necessarily. It's more of an expansion of the current urgency ordinance that's in place. And so that's mainly meant to address gatherings that are 75 and under. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, but 75.
Yeah, right. And by the way, the new piece of information, I don't know if I was talking to John Kopchik, our planning director. He told me he had a recent conversation with the sheriff's department, and this was after the last noise advisory committee meeting. And it sounds like the sheriff is expressed, because remember, they have to enforce it, a willingness to enforce a restriction, and I think he's going to work on this and present this to the next noise committee, a restriction of amplified sound outside. In other words, outside, and limiting the hours inside and outside. I forgot what those were, but I think the sheriff had indicated that that was a better way that they could enforce it than having a decibel meter. So I think there's some effort. They're putting something together that they will soon report to all of us. I don't know all the details, and I don't think it's been presented to the noise committee yet, but it's a way to move forward with the sheriff enforcing it. So I would wait until that presentation happens and we see what that looks like. It would be something that specifically, again, allows the sheriff to go in and stop anything if there's outdoor noise events after a certain hour, or indoor above after a certain hour. Different standards.
I have a number of additional updates.
This is on top of the existing ordinance. That's right, Ronnie.
Yeah.
And so I don't know the details other than John Kopchik, who's our planning and building director, said he'd been talking to the sheriff's office in a productive way, and he was going to come back to the noise committee with details of how this would work. So maybe we should wait until that happens before getting into more detailed discussion about that.
Yeah, and once that information is out, we'll definitely see if we can have either Grant Farrington, who's the manager for that specific piece, out, or Director Kopchik as well. I have a number of additional items, but I'm going to yield my time to the other.
And can I say one positive thing, and that's that the point in time homeless count showed that the homeless population decreased by 26% since last year, and in Richmond by about 40%. And we've been asked, what do we think made the difference? And two things: we provided emergency rental relief to people on the verge of homelessness, and we increased the number of shelter beds and permanent and transitional housing. Now, a lot more work to do. Still, too many individuals are homeless, but that's good news to see that Richmond dropped 40%, countywide was 26%, and that though we're continuing funding those strategies that I just mentioned, if I think we obviously need to do more.
Yes.
Okay,
Great, so-
Ronnie, we have one question.
Oh, yes.
I got that.
You can ask your question, but I think we can hear you.
You gotta cut all the bushes and trees down up along the ridge, all the way to Concord. For the fire abatement.
I think Michelle may have additional information on that when she has her fire
I haven't
update.
done that yet.
No, that's coming up later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait then.
All right, thank you.
Great, so I have a whole list of other updates that I'll be sending out to everyone that's signed up to our newsletter. If you're not signed up for our Friday newsletter, please sign up. I'm gonna see if I can get a digital version of that, so if you aren't, also you should, for updates in regards to a lot of what Supervisor Joya has presented earlier, highly recommended to either follow him on Facebook, all the socials, and also his newsletter as well. And so,
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Okay, with that, I would like to, we're still waiting for Chief Bachman, so I'd like to call Lieutenant Fitzgerald from, he's our commander, our Sheriff's Base Station.
Good evening. For the month of June, there was 69 calls for service in East Richmond Heights. You had 2 auto burglaries, 3 vandalisms, a handful of other calls, totaling 8 actual reports that were generated. During the meeting last month, there was a question about internet lines that were being cut at North Arlington and Alpine Road, whether or not that's a sheriff's office jurisdiction or ours. It is ours. Over the last 2 months, we had 1 call for service there in the area, but that was for an abandoned Kia. Nothing about any internet lines that had been cut. There was also a question about an address on North Arlington, and a boat that was possibly blocking the roadway. I went over there after the meeting. The boat is actually registered to that address, and it's completely off the road.
Okay.
We had lines cut the past week up on North Arlington. But
Same area.
yeah, the same area.
Are they having to get to them by climbing the poles? Is that the?
I think they show up with trucks that look like PG&E trucks, then they go snip, snip and drive off.
Any indication of the reason for that?
They're still in the copper.
Members, any questions for the Sheriff's
Yeah,
Department?
so I wanted to follow up on the boat, especially because John Joy is also here. I think it's kind of great. So if it's in the public right of way, we thought that the sheriff was supposed to still enforce it. But I don't know, John, can you maybe speak more on the ordinance? Because we have a few votes and.
Sorry, which ordinance are you talking about?
The one pertaining to parked boats that are not in the, but that are in the public right of way on the road.
So there's a shared responsibility between the CHP and the sheriff's office. And I know, so the lieutenant can talk a little about that. I know that we've worked with CHP as well, and the lieutenant can maybe first address that, I think.
Yeah, the thing with this boat specifically, it's completely off the roadway, so it's not impeding traffic, whether it's foot traffic or vehicular traffic. So it's on his property.
But I guess
We do have code enforced. So the other piece of it is building. So if something is some of these that are visible from the street could violate code enforcement rules. So then what would happen is the building department could go out and issue a notice of violation.
So we've been going through this for like the past 6 months. Code enforcement has already gone out and said that this was, the sheriff had to enforce it, because it's not on their physical property, it's on the public easement, I guess, I don't know.
It's on the roadway.
It's on the roadway, it's not
Is
on the
that-
road,
right.
it's for the road.
So I don't know as far as where the property lines for that specific property are to be like, this is an easement or is property. My understanding from last month's meeting was that it was obstructing the roadway from vehicular or pedestrian traffic. So, that's new info for me. So
Okay, because they had it there and then it was moved, because it can't be there for more than 72 hours or something. But previously they had already removed it and they brought it back. And if you check Google Maps, it's been there for 5 years. So it's long-term storage.
as far as for the sheriff's office and CHP to be able to tow a vehicle, it has to be on a roadway. I'll have to look into the whole easement thing, to get more information for you.
Okay, thank you.
So it's not that it has to be out of sight? Wasn't there something with the ordinance that then had to be behind something so that it wasn't seen?
That's something that I'd have to look up as far as the ordinance. That's a very specific thing that we generally don't deal with. So I'd have to get back to you on that.
The same with RVs. RVs have to be hidden from sight a certain percentage.
Members, anything else from the sheriff's department? Okay, anyone in the room here? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this is a follow-up from last week, about ice, and I was wondering if you had any ice, lighting.
We haven't had any operations with ice.
What about from Concord and Portland?
That's Concord, I'm sorry, I don't I work there.
Okay, so you don't know anything about what they're doing with ice at the.
I can respond briefly on, as Lieutenant said, the sheriff's office doesn't do law enforcement in Concord, that's Concord Police Department. What we do know, the county has a program called Stand Together Contra Costa fund that we fund. It's through our public defender's office, and they provide us assistance and legal help to immigrants in Contra Costa who may be at risk of deportation. And they had individuals at the Concord immigration court, and they had observed a few ICE enforcement officers at the immigration court, and may have detained or picked up a couple of people. That report came through the lawyers for Stand Together that were in the immigration court. We haven't heard anything basically other than that.
Okay, when I went on to ICE today, which is unverified reports of ICE, and there were reports in Richmond. So last time, I don't know, Richmond was here this time, but he said that ICE was supposed to be reporting to the city if they had a presence in that city. So I don't know if that guy is here tonight or not, but
We've got Richmond Police, but that's farther down on the.
that's farther down the list, so we can kind of go over that.
I will say there have been a lot of unverified reports, and our Stand Together Contra Costa, which is funded by the county, has been working with, and they have gone out when they've heard reports, and some of their staff have gone out to, like, we heard a report that there were ICE outside the Home Depot there on San Pablo Avenue. Individuals from Stand Together went out there and reported back they weren't there. So I have not heard any other real confirmation from Stand Together. They have been going out and responding to help. So I think we've heard a lot of reports, but they have not verified any.
County funds or give some funds to, stand together.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
So the county helps fund their stand together or has some,
No, this is a county program funded by the county and run through our public defender's office. We don't help fund it, we fund it. It is a program that I helped start a number of years ago with a coalition of community organizations. It is funded by the county and it is run through our public defender's office.
the other thing is, I was wondering if we could bring, ICE to as part of the agenda for next month.
Yep.
Why?
We'll have to talk about that. It would have to apply to East Richmond Heights unincorporated.
Well, it may eventually.
Okay, well, Marilyn, let's talk after the meeting, okay? All right, I know we have some more questions over here, sir. Yes.
I just, can you tell me two things about the FBI, first of all? What happened to the Taylor City FBI? Where did they go? They just create new right.
Okay, first of all, this is about East Richmond Heights only here tonight.
Okay, now another question, and then I'll get to my question.
Okay,
Does anybody know a number for the Concord FBI?
I have no idea.
They changed their number, did you know that?
No, sir, but,
Okay, I'll get to the original question then.
okay. Yeah, this,
Somehow SWAT cannot come out to someone's house to look for a body that's buried under a few inches of plywood beside their house. And you call the police department 20 times and they don't even then come out to look at the damn property.
okay. We need to.
He was a drug dog, he was a cop of a motorcycle policeman.
Okay, sir, we need to stay with
Okay,
East Richmond
I have some
Heights.
questions for Mr. Shell then.
She's on the agenda later.
Yeah,
Em, you had a question?
yes,
I
ma'am.
was just wanting to add, if any of you are really concerned about the boats that are getting swept up by the Stand Together Contra Costa County, if you go on their website, they've got so many resources. I've printed out some stuff from their website and handed it out both in English and in Spanish, so I thought it was really good. Go look at that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else in here for the sheriff? Okay, I'd like to ask our folks on Zoom, is there anyone there that would like to, that's a question for the lieutenant tonight. Okay, all right, well, thank you, Brian, we appreciate it. Okay. Don't see the chief here yet, we're gonna, is Ryan from the AC Transit with us tonight?
Yeah, hi, I'm here via Zoom.
Okay, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you now.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, East Richmond Heights MAC members, Supervisor Joya, staff, and members of the public. My name is Ryan Lau, External Affairs Representative at AC Transit, the largest bus-only transit agency in the state of California. I will keep this brief because I did not realize that you had so much on the agenda tonight. Am I able to share my screen?
You should be able to, Ryan.
Okay. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
We can now.
Great, thank you. So just a little bit of context. AC Transit was started in 1960, took over from the old Key system, which was an electric cable car, not electric streetcar. What just happened? My headphones think I'm trying to talk to an AI assistant. Sorry. We are a special district. We're not part of any municipality. Your elected representative is Christian Peoples, which is the director in charge of Ward 1. We represent 13 cities and unincorporated communities throughout Alameda County and West Contra Costa County. 6 facilities. We have 2,300 employees with a budget of $567 million. And our ridership consists of 75% people of color, 65% low income, and 43% are fully transit dependent, meaning they don't have a working vehicle. So I'm going to breeze through this because I know you have a packed agenda. So we are currently operating 85% of our pre-pandemic service, so we're not fully back to 100%. About 89% of that is local service, and our trans-based service is still trying to come back online. Downtown San Francisco is not what it used to be, so we're operating about 30%. Overall, we're operating 85%. I think I said that. The board just recently passed a balanced budget, but we are still in a situation where while we're still only operating 85% of our pre-pandemic service, we're still looking at a $42 million deficit, which just started this fiscal year. Ridership recovery, we are at 75% overall. 89% is local service. So that's a strong recovery. And again, our trans-based service is still lagging. And so Realign is our service changes that we've been sort of doing planning and outreach for the last 2 years. It's about to go online August 10th, which is just next month. We spent a substantial amount of time doing analysis, reaching out to communities to get some input, just to better understand the way that people are getting around in the post-pandemic era. And so now we're set to launch. Just a quick overview. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Sorry, I'm juggling a bunch of screens. Sorry. There you go. Okay. Just a quick overview of the changes. I'm not a planner, so I'm trying to keep it at a high level. We are really trying to retain service to transit-dependent riders. High demand corridors like Cutting will see 15-minute service, which is pretty good in the scheme of things. Most of West Contra Costa County will see 30-minute or better service, which is fairly good. We have seen some coverage changes. So the line 74 that serves El Sobrante Hills will no longer serve Castro Ranch Road due to low ridership. Sorry. Rolling Wood neighborhood was or is currently served by the 72, but that will be supplanted by the line 76 to improve reliability. Reliability is actually one of those factors that make deciding to use public transit is one of the most important factors, because if it's not going to show up when it's supposed to, people look for other options. And the 76 will be running every 30 minutes. And I will just sort of jump through. So again, we're going online with these changes August 10th. There's a variety of information on our website, actransit.org/realign, where you can find all of the route changes, maps, and the like. There will be printed information on buses through car cards and brochures with line-by-line information. You'll also see some advertisements at BART stations. We're also pushing out a variety of different digital communications through our e-news and social media. You'll also see ambassadors throughout the service area at bus stops, just to communicate those changes that are coming up. So again, I know you have a lot on your agenda, so just wanted to urge people to go to actransit.org/realign to see if there are any changes to their commute via public transit. And so happy to field any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Members, any questions for AC Transit?
Do they offer discount for ADA and seniors?
They do. So there is what they call a regional transit pass, which is anybody that is qualified medically disabled can get a 50% fare decrease. And then youth 18 or under or seniors 65 and over also can see a 50% reduction. And then also there is the Clipper Start program, which is a means-based program for anybody between 18 and 65 that can also get a 50% reduction.
Okay.
I have a question. Hi, this is Jingwei. I read about the AC Transit going to restart the carpool program that they used to have it like before pandemic, like where the people can drive and pick up other people and
Yeah, I think you're
so
I think
when
you're
we are
talking
back,
about
yeah.
I think you're talking about casual carpool. That's
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
not
that's right.
affiliated with us.
Yeah, so
It's
that is gonna coming back and read about it on the news and when that will come back and how do we kind of broadcast it to let everybody know.
Yeah, that's actually not affiliated with our organization. It's basically a community-led program. I don't even know if it's formal enough to necessarily call a program, but yeah, that's led by community members. And so I don't have any information on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I don't know, Ronnie, if you have information, but there is Richmond Moves. That's kind of an alternative. I probably shouldn't be plugging a competitor of ours, but within the city of Richmond proper, I don't know if that includes East Richmond Heights. They do have an on-demand shuttle.
Okay. Anything else from any of the council members? That was Council Member Jack. Okay, anyone in the room have any questions for AC Transit? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that the transmitting services are lagging. Is there any world where we get the HVAC in the next couple of years? That was a great. Yeah.
I can't speak to future plans for trans-based service, but at this moment, considering that we have a $42 million budget deficit, and we are sort of prioritizing investments in local service because that's where people are utilizing it the most. I don't think that there's any immediate plans to restore that line. I think there's various conversations that are happening right now related to revenue measures and the like. And so the landscape could change, but at this moment, I can't speak to that.
Okay. Anyone else in the room here for AC Transit? Okay, anyone on Zoom that has any questions for AC Transit? Okay, Ryan, thank you for that. We appreciate it. All right.
Thank you so much.
Well, we still waiting.
I can start.
Huh?
I can start.
You want to go ahead?
He's
and
almost
start?
here.
Okay, we will now shift to Contra Costa County Fire. Our friend Michelle is here.
Here I am. Okay, everybody's gonna run at me with pitchforks, right? Okay. So while Ronnie's pulling up the presentation, the East Richmond Heights shaded fuel break has been on our radar. This area has been on our radar for quite some time. When I joined as the county coordinator in 2023, this was an early on initiative that we recognized needed attention. We needed to partner with the residents here within the area of East Richmond Heights, Hasford Heights, El Sobrante, and others in West County to bring a more fire adapted approach to your daily living. We have to learn to live with fire. We're not going to be able to fireproof our homes and our lives against fire. But what we can do is we can address fire behavior. The way that we do that is learning about the fire triangle. The fire triangle, as you all know, is affected by three things: weather, topography, and fuels. We cannot change the weather, right? We cannot change the landscape, but we can decrease fuels. Decreasing fuels is the way that we bring the first step in how we bring defensible space and home hardening and fuel breaks, such as the East Richmond Heights shaded fuel break, are ways that we can bring fire adaptability to the community. A shaded fuel break that serves to slow the spread of fire. It's not a wall. It doesn't prevent the fire from coming into the neighborhood, but it does slow the spread of fire, providing an area and an opportunity for crews to provide a standpoint, a line in the sand, if you will, a place to defend against fire. So what I'm going to start talking about today is where we came from with this project, where we are now, and what the future looks like. On the next slide. So in the 2023-2024 fire prevention grant by CAL FIRE, we proposed the East Richmond Heights shaded fuel break project. This was over $1 million. We did submit it to CAL FIRE, supported by the Climate Investments Program as Contra Costa Fire Protection District. And we had the support of the East Bay Regional Parks District and our partners at Richmond Fire. We also had community support, but what we were lacking was what I'll be talking about tonight. So we submitted our application and CAL FIRE did deny that application, unfortunately. Next slide, please. So then they announced on June 25th, that's just, that they're going to open the wildfire prevention grant again. And we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, right? And as the MAC board knows, I've been providing regular updates on the Lafayette Walnut Creek shaded fuel break to give you and the community an idea of what this shaded fuel break might look like as a project in the steps. I'll take your questions in just a moment. So they opened it on June 25th. The deadline for submission is August 6th. So let me just say, you taking time out of your lives to come to this meeting tonight is genuinely appreciated. You taking the time to understand what our goals are and how to partner with us in this project is truly appreciated. The turnout here tonight, online and in person, is amazing. I love this. Chief Bachman will be joining us here in a moment, and we'll be talking about, the look forward and the project map, and from his perspective, what he sees. He'll also take your questions. So tonight, what do we need from you? After we go through the steps of the project and help you understand what we're actually doing on the ground and the mechanisms that we'll use to reduce those fuels, we're requesting letters of commitment from the residents in the surrounding area. You also have the opportunity to submit a denial letter saying, I don't want this work to take place near my property. The support that we receive and the denials will determine the project boundaries. Why are we looking at project boundaries? As you'll notice on the last slide, the initial project in 2023-2024 in that last grant was over $1 million. The maximum amount we can submit and a request is $950,000 for this project. Under the project map that you'll see in the next few slides, that was a 73-acre project. Given the amount that we spend per acre and the reduction of that grant amount, we will need to reduce the overall acres that we touch for this project. But we want to make sure that we're increasing the effectiveness or maintaining the effectiveness of the project. Next slide, please. So here's the project description. It's really wordy, but what it says is basically we're going to address those fuels through various mechanisms. We're going to reduce the fuels at the understory while also maintaining the ecosystem and the viability of non-invasive species of plants and animals and such. So we want to make sure that the collective protection, and I say protection, but again, it's not a wall. It's not a fireproofing of the East Richmond Heights, Hasford Heights, and down into the flats. There is no wall that we can erect, but it does serve in protection in the sense that it provides a place for an anchor point for the crews, the responding crews, to inhibit or slow the spread of that fire significantly. Next slide. So the proposed scope of work. Reduction of biomass of woody and vegetative material available for combustion. So what does that mean? We're going to reduce the amount of fuels in the understory, interrupting those ladder fuels that can carry the fuels fire into the canopy. We're going to see it's a significant reduction in the probability of an uncontrolled wildfire from starting and entering the wildland urban interface. We are in the wildland urban interface. So think about the wildland of East Bay Regional Parks and the urban area of East Richmond Heights and down into the flats. You're in the interface right now, right? And how fire behavior is affected by wind and topography and fuels, it creates fingers that can reach down into the community. Again, a shaded fuel break provides that break or that slowing point for that fire behavior. We look to increase the effectiveness of defensible space surrounding residential structures in the West Contra Costa urban area. Does this project as a whole take the onerous off of property owners and say, oh, the fire department's got it and I don't have to do anything? Absolutely not. This is a way for us to partner and bring together our collective effort to reduce the fire risk of the West Contra Costa County area. We're going to, again, decrease the amount of woody and vegetative material that is available for conversion to greenhouse gases by an unplanned combustion process, otherwise known as a wildfire. And then finally, provide a safer community with improved evacuation routes and access points for fire crews to establish anchor points. And again, the purpose of the shaded fuel break is to provide that anchor point. Next slide, please. So the canopy being in place, this is a screenshot of what the Lafayette Walnut Creek shaded fuel break looked like before we started our work. You'll see the thick canopy and ladder fuels are present. So a fire beginning here on the ground or a light flashy fuel fire that is wind driven, has a wind behind it, that can carry into the canopy very easily, because let's say that the ground fuels catch fire. Any vegetative material that catches fire has the potential to grow 3 times its growth height. So when you're looking at a bush that is 2 feet tall, with a flame length can grow to 6 feet. That 6 feet can carry into the canopy, and then you have a significant amount of ember cast from a tree canopy fire that will shower. We all saw the embers, right, from the Oakland Hills fire, Palisades and others, how those embers carry and start spot fires ahead of the main fire. Next slide, please. Next is pile burning. This is one mechanism we will use to decrease the overall fuels where we cannot provide a different mechanism. And Chief Bachman will talk about the various mechanisms that he's used in the Lafayette Walnut Creek shaded fuel break to address those fuels and reduce those fuels. So pile burning, the important thing about that is really connecting with Facebook, Instagram, really following what our social media pages are, signing up for CWS, knowing your evacuation zone, but more importantly, knowing when we are doing this pile burning, we're going to post that on our Facebook page. And you're going to see that and you're, oh, I smell smoke. Not a time to call 911 because you smell smoke, right? Still be aware But we are actively working in the area and our crews are on the ground. So pile burning, you will smell smoke, but again, preventing the unplanned wildfire where structures could be involved. Next slide, please. So this is the area, the finished area of the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Fuel Break. This is what it looks like when ladder fuels are reduced, ground fuels are reduced. It allows that fire less of a chance to get into that tree canopy and blow those embers and cast those embers into the urban area of the wildland urban interface. Next slide. I saw Chief Bachman. I'd like you all to know Chief Bachman as our Assistant Fire Chief and Fire Marshal for Confire. He's going to take over and talk a little bit about the project map and what we're talking about tonight. But again, when you are finished listening, when at the conclusion of the presentation and you're interested in signing those letters of commitment or letters of denial, I will be at the back table. It's noted with our Confire tablecloth, and I welcome your input on that map and to receive your letters. With that, I hand off to Chief Bachman.
Thank you. Thank you. So this project map we worked on for about a year before we really submitted it. We knew at the time we were in the middle of the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Fuel Break. That one took about a year to kind of identify where we were going to do it. Actually, UTVs, hiking it, and off-road vehicles. Picking this area was more just walked and identified with our hand crew and our captains that are familiar with this area. When we submitted it, the feedback we got back from CAL FIRE was, when you look at the fire severity zones, you created this great buffer right as it's coming in to the wildland urban interface. And they're like, we love the concept, the idea, the location, but the concern is different from the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Fuel Break is 80% of that fuel break was one property owner, Rossmore. So it was very easy when we submitted that letter of commitment with our $3 million project to say 80% of this will be with one landowner. They didn't ask us for letters of commitment from any other property owners. So they said, even if you don't fund this, getting 80% of this done and then giving a portion of that back will be okay. We've met the intent of what you're trying to do around the edge of Walnut Creek and Lafayette. But with this, we have a lot of different property owners, and our map was a lot more detailed because we learned a lot during that mapping process. And we had our consultant with that helps us with CEQA develop this map, and it showed them the number of parcels that we were dealing with. And they said, this is great. You have a letter of commitment from Richmond Fire. You have a letter of commitment from East Bay Parks, and Confire is committed to doing this, but we need to see letters of commitment from the residents since we're able to see so many different parcels. So I hope that tonight showing you what the end effect looks like in Walnut Creek and Lafayette. We're not moonscaping the ground. We're leaving all trees that are 10 inches or greater. We're getting rid of that understory and creating and having a nice canopy that the shade prevents all those obnoxious weeds and brush from growing back. And we know that we need to maintain it every 3 to 5 years. So our request is, would you consider that type of break at the back of your property where we go up to East Bay Parks? The reason I want it to be both on East Bay Parks and property owners is if it's within East Bay Park, if it's just the whole thing was East Bay Parks, then honestly, East Bay Park should be submitting the request. Where I want to have engagement with the community, with property owners, and say, are you interested in this? And if there's areas it's not, we can make it smaller. We can move it north. We can move it south. I just need roughly 50 acres that I want to take advantage of creating a fuel break between the Wildland Urban Interface and Wildcat Canyon Regional Park. Let's hold questions to the very end. And we also have a unique opportunity right now with an executive order that the governor has put in effect until October 1st. And that is, if you can submit a fuel break request that meets certain criteria, which this one does, then we're exempt from a full CalVTP and PSA requirement for CEQA, which we did on the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Fuel Break. That process for full CEQA compliance took us 16 to 17 months to complete. So once we were awarded, we waited another 16 months before we even broke ground and had a contractor out there. With this new exemption, we're able to hire the same CEQA consultant that helped us do this map, that helped us do our PSA and CalVTP. It isn't that we're just ignoring all environmental requirements, but we don't have to create the 200-page book that supports the project. We know what we're doing. We'll have the same consulting company help us make sure we're compliant with it. So we'll be exempt from the big document in 16 months. What that means is a very fast turnaround and a savings of about $250,000 to $300,000. That amount can then be put back into equipment and additional acreage. So in this project, because we know we have some more remote areas, and we also learned from our last one that we paid a contractor a lot to rent a track chipper. So our proposal in this grant is to purchase a track chipper specifically for this project. So even when I hire a contractor, you're going to use this piece of equipment that the grant paid for, and I'm not going to pay you a daily rate to rent a chipper. The advantage is then when we're done with that, we will have that chipper for our hand crew, Crew 12, to use throughout the entire county to help maintain projects like this and do smaller projects countywide. So we'll say the CEQA savings are going to be spent on equipment that we have long-term capital investment in our crew and in the county to do mitigation work. Also with that is that fast turnaround. So then the goal is if we're awarded within about 90 days, because we have to still go up for RFP to have a competitive process to select the contractor to do the work, we would actually break ground. So a difference of 3 months versus 16 months will be boots on the ground performing the work. I can go into the next slide. This is the Michelle Reinhardt's contact information as your county coordinator. If you don't have that, please make sure you write that down. It gives her both email and phone number. We're also collecting a lot of these forms tonight, or they can be sent either to her or our info email. We're already receiving quite a few of them at info@cccfpd.org. And when we open up for questions, I would like to go back to the map in case we have questions specifically about the areas we chose or other areas to consider. Sure, you had your hand up first.
Catherine, do you want to go first?
Well, I just wanted to hear a
She had
definition of a shaded fuel break, which I've inferred from listening to you now, is removing the ground bushes and stuff so that you just have.
A lot of the understory, yes, the what I would call the light flashier fuels. So when you look at that picture, when you see a lot of these oaks, they're very resilient. And we'll say they're somewhat fire resistant. But they're fire resistive when they don't have 8 and 10 foot high flame impingement directly upon them. So we get rid of all the brush underneath these oaks, and we get rid of the tall grasses and knock the grasses down to a reasonable height of 3 to 4 inches. Now, when fire burns through there, those trees still stay healthy and they aren't damaged by the fire if a fire were to come through.
And you mentioned the size of anything smaller than.
So if we have smaller trees, then it's a judgment call of, is this tree beneficial? And again, it depends on the hillside. So if there's hillsides and we're concerned about erosion, we're still not cutting down, well, at 6 inch, we're cutting it down. We'll say, you know what, we need to evaluate this area, and that's where the consultant and the environment and the CEQA comes into place. Because we'll still have that on-site monitoring that would say, you know what, no, that tree may only be 6 inches, but it's beneficial because it's gonna keep the soil in place. Especially if we're gonna cut the grasses and get rid of brush, we still need some of these smaller trees, and that's the trade-off. But we take that professional opinion when we're in those areas working. Yes.
Okay, I have a few questions. So I'm Gina from the Mira Vista Stewardship Committee. So the Mira Vista Field Stewardship Committee. So we're in the process of trying to restore it. It's full of weeds, and we're trying to restore it to native grasses, which are less flammable. Okay, so we came up with these questions, and I'm not sure, I'm kind of needing your help to do my questions here. So I'll start off saying the questions. All right. So are you guys going to survey and map the intact native plant communities? And, will you have a map for that? Because if we don't have that, then especially the tall, dry annual grasses and other weeds sometimes will increase after a heavy mowing like that. And so we're hoping that you have some kind of expertise consulting you about when you get rid of all the weeds, the problems that can cause, as well as how helpful it is. You know, so that it's done with some discernment and wisdom.
If we can go back to the,
Not
to the
imply
map.
it's not being done.
Sure.
with discernment.
I think it depends, you know, if you're more in this, I think that's a great point when you're in this larger open space right through here.
Uh-huh.
That does not have any structures on it, it's
Yeah.
one landowner. But when you get into these individual parcels, you're really talking about people's backyards.
Yeah.
And I would certainly hope if in their backyards, and a lot of these are longer, deep parcels. That if that longer deep parcel, if we're able to clear out that brush. Look and have the end result of it looks like the area where we went in Lafayette and Walnut Creek and created the shaded fuel break. It's then you're really dealing with an annual maintenance of what we call kind of weed abatement. And we're doing this right now out in Hunsaker Canyon. And in fact, you know, I say this because I think some people will be shocked. We did a prescribed burn today. This morning.
Yeah.
Very small, 2 acres in size. But very early in the morning, we still had the marine influence in the Lafayette area. And we knew that it would take us about an hour to an hour and a half to burn it. We were burning off star thistle. The star thistle is a very obnoxious weed that has taken over a portion that we sent the contractor in there and said, can you eliminate this? And he said, I'm gonna make it worse if I come in here and cut this. We really need to burn it, but it needs to be burnt in the ideal time. Unfortunately, that ideal time started in the last 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, we burned a small section, we burned a section one more time, and then we just finished it. Today, we had our hand crew out there, water tender. It was done in a very safe environment. We warned the residents, social media posts. You're gonna see a little bit of smoke. We're burning about 1.5 acres. It didn't sound like a large area, but the whole area was 4 acres, 4 acres of star thistle.
Yeah.
It would just keep doubling.
That's right.
And we knew we had to get rid of it. So that is an area that we'll say on-site biologists and with the through Sequoia made that recommendation. They've supervised it and said, yes, you don't want to just go in and cut. It will be worse.
Yeah.
We need to burn this. So we word our grant to say, if there's areas that prescribe burning, makes the most sense. If there's areas that goat grazing makes the most sense.
Okay.
Sometimes it's handwork, it just depends.
Oh, great.
So it varies all through here.
Thank you.
Even out in the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Field Break, we had a section that was all designed just for goat grazing. We took a small area that was about 5 acres and said, you know what, this also is an ideal area because of 2 fire trails that we have to maintain it. Let's do a prescribed burn there. Let's prescribe burn this hillside and compare. How does this 5 acres compare to this 5 acres that's been goat grazed? Let's evaluate it this fall, let's evaluate it this winter, and let's evaluate it next spring. And also have some findings for our own knowledge to say, in this landscape out around Rossmore, what is gonna be a better maintenance 2-3 years from now to deal with? Should we do prescribed burn strips? Or should we have it goat grazed? But we're learning, so we take opportunities to rely on experts and also learn from, as we're creating these, which one's gonna be beneficial in other parts of the county as we're doing mitigation work. Sure, one more.
So of course, now I'm thinking about my own home, because we're on the border of Mira Vista Field. And so in my own home, I've got some natives, and then I've got vegetation I need to get rid of. So is that the kind of thing? And then also in Mira Vista Field, right up against the fence, the school district, which owns Mira Vista Field, hasn't mowed that part. So there's oak trees, but then there's a lot of invasives underneath them. So I'm wondering about something like that, how that would work. Like, I guess what I'm scared of, you know, is I'll sign it and then you come and I have no control about my natives or something like that.
It isn't about no control, it's about selecting the right mitigation for the parcel and for the area.
Yeah.
Not only reducing the hazard today, but also what's gonna be the easiest for you to maintain, because it will be your responsibility to maintain moving forward. that was the big thing with Rossmore is saying, we're gonna do this and we'll say, spend. $2.2 million in mitigation work to do this project. We need to make sure you have the commitment that you're going to maintain it moving forward. We can help with some of that maintenance, but we can't be responsible for maintenance. And that's what CAL FIRE wants to also make sure is that people recognize that we're catching up the mitigation work that needs to be done. And it will be a lot easier for residents, homeowners to maintain moving forward once that big burden is done. Yes.
This is a two-pronged question. What do you expect an individual property owner to do with their own property? Do we need to remove trees at our expense? What are signing this
No,
letter?
by signing this, you're gonna have zero cost in the mitigation one. The grant will cover it. We're estimating $12,000 an acre is the mitigation cost that we're anticipating. I budgeted 10 million, I budgeted 3 million, which was 10,000 an acre for the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Field Break. I got lucky because some areas ended up only costing us about 6,000 an acre, some were as high as 12 and 15. In the more complex areas. So I'm not putting it for 10,000, I'm putting it for 12 and when I talked to CAL FIRE and SCE unit, they said what we're seeing in the Bay Area is an average of 10,000. Well, I think that's a couple years old because what I experienced last year is more like 12,000. So we're upping the amount to 12,000 an acre is what we anticipate it to cost. Where we help with that buffer and what kept us from not getting in trouble with the last one was because we have crew 12 staffed year round. We can assign them a day or two to go out and help keep us in line. So if it's like, boy, we were really off, this one, you can't even do it for 12, it's gonna cost 15. I'm not gonna pay the contractor 15. Or if I do, I'm gonna then have our hand crew come in and take another little small section of it and say, I need you to do 2 acres of work for me because those 2 acres over there put me over budget. And they like that because then they know when we put in a project, we're gonna complete the total acreage that we submit. Because we have that quality control of our hand crew to help keep the project within budget and on track.
Are you wanting us to create defensible space between?
So yes, ideally, you're still responsible for that defensible space. 0 to 100 feet from your residence. So that you're doing the defensible space. With a lot of talk about, and I don't, this is the old map, and I'm not sure if the new map included any very high into any of your backyards or in your properties, which potentially is gonna trigger a zone 0 requirement in the next 3 years. That's kind of beyond when we're looking at completing this, because we're looking at, most likely, if this works like the last one did, from when we apply to when we get notified, it will be less than 6 months, probably more like 4 months. We'll get notified of you're either successful or you're not. So if we learn in 4 months we're successful, I'm anticipating 3 months to RFP, get a contractor. We have the exemption for CEQA. You're talking 7 months from right now, we're doing the work, which is ideal. Now we're in the middle of winter. And based on the size, it's less than a year project. So we would have 3 years in terms of the CAL FIRE grant, but it's something that realistically can easily be done in 1 year. So we're well before that any zone 0 regulations would come out that I could say, we're done and we meet all the current standards, but you would be responsible for meeting the defensible space requirements that are set in that 0 to 100 feet. But we also recognize with these deeper parcels, a lot of it goes way farther than 100 feet. And that's what we don't want to ignore, and that's what we want to provide assistance.
That's right.
Thank you.
Come back to you. Let's get some more. I've had a couple hands up in the back of the room. I think you've had your hand up.
Yes, so I just had, because nobody looks at fire codes that happened a few years ago, right? Nobody looks at it, right? Okay, what do you do with the herbs and stuff, the flowers that you're buying?
so.
The sassafras and the orchids and stuff.
So the, you know.
I'll go back to you guys, do you take it home with you or what?
No. So the area I was just talking about with the SAR thistle, the recommendation was what really needs to go back on that landscape is wildflowers or wild flowers. And
How do you burn back then?
and so as we're burning that, and again, it was the timing of when do you plant the wild flowers to go back on that that section.
Thank you.
That's what they're putting back. Now, again, these are all based on recommendations from the biologists saying, what should we put here? And what would you recommend? Now, with that, you gotta remember that we're doing the mitigation work. But the example of the cost of that wildflower seeds is something the homeowner is paying for.
Yeah.
So we do the cleanup and then that ongoing maintenance and what you want it to look like as it comes back would come at the expense of the property owner. Now, if there was money left and we were under budget, I could put in for an amendment and say, hey, we completed our 57 acres. We have this amount, can we buy seed? Can we buy, it's something that they would consider, but I can't guarantee that for property owners, because the focus of the grant is to say, we're gonna buy a chipper to lower our costs of doing the work, help with ongoing maintenance costs, along with doing at least 57 acres of mitigation work in this area. Yes.
If we can't see the map, I have a very hard time visualizing. Are we talking about like a ribbon of land where the residential properties meet the East Bay Park land? Along the canyon?
This is last year's, okay, which goes from the golf course in El Cerrito down to East Richmond Heights starts there. And then the fuel break here, this is all the way down Wildcat Canyon side of Bernhard. Okay, now that we wanna, add Hasford Heights, which.
So, yeah, and then this was the area that was identified last year when we created this, and if I can, here, I'll pass this back for you to we can't look at. We can't. And I believe, not sure where Michelle went, but Michelle, I think you also got a whole map. That, if you could also maybe pass it over a table or when we're
go back and look at it.
hang around for questions. We've got a rolled map back there that's very detailed as well, that shows the parcel breakdown. We're happy to discuss that. And again, this line can move because there's some sections through here that get wider. And I am definitely open to saying it doesn't need to be that wide if we don't have all the commitment from going this deep. And we can make it narrower and then go further north or further south. I'm here to ask, like, what does the community want? We're not trying to twist anybody's arm or force anybody into making these decisions, but we recognize that we think a fuel break through this area will benefit the community.
Can you say the exact area, because we're not clear where you're talking about? Is it like streets or?
So I think that
They have a big map back there.
Yeah, there's a big map back there, so we're gonna give that breakdown.
Thank you.
That we can zoom in and you'll be able to see the streets, because I've also had requests to say that they're just out, you guys are a subdivision or a community just outside of it, would we consider moving? Absolutely, we're open to it, and one of my recommendations would be in this Bernhard Avenue area, it doesn't need to be as wide as it is. We could make it a little narrower to still do the job of creating that break along the open space. And we could go further north up into Alabama Park.
Up above that area is also Hasford Heights that we represent. And so, and that wasn't extended
So
last
I
year.
think what CAL FIRE wants to see though is they like continuous. So they don't want to see a little portion, a big break, a little portion, a big break, and a little portion. It's, can we be strategic in how we design it to move up? So if you're here and you're representing an area that's not in the map, please put your address down if you're interested, sign the letter of support.
That's good to
And
know.
then if we don't, that way, if we don't get commitment down in here in the Richmond area or in here. Then we're willing to move it because we have this very short window, and I apologize. But we're at the mercy of when CAL FIRE releases these and says, you've got 6 weeks to submit an application. The application is gonna be very easy for us to submit. It's just the map modification and the letters of commitment that we need to focus in.
Here's a really important question. Now, we've got a sample letter we can sign, but on the letter, it ends with, we agree to this on my property located at with an address. There's a lot of us that support that being done, but I'm a block over on Arlington, so I'm not part of that, but how do can I sign that?
You can still absolutely sign it because what we'll do is we're gonna, we're fortunate that I have 2 GIS analysts that work full time for us. That we're able to work with Sequoia, who helped us create this map, and our GIS analysts. Plug in those addresses and help us draw the dots of where we have the support. And I'm hoping if I can achieve that 80% like I did, several years ago, I wasn't able to get a hold of every single resident. But if we get 80% compliance in the map that we have of letters of commitment, I think we'll be okay to still submit and say, it's just gonna take more town hall meetings, more community meetings, knocking on doors, and we're willing to commit to that time.
Should we still put our address?
Yes, absolutely. If you support it, even if you're not in there, absolutely, yes.
So I think this is great. Last night I was walking through my neighborhood, talking to people on the street. People did not know about this project.
Right.
And I'm curious about what the timeline is to be able to get approval.
August 6th, I think.
So August 6th is when we have to have it submitted. August 5th is when we're taking it to the Board of Supervisors. We have to have permission to apply. Because they also want to make sure that, hey, because it does not have a cost match to it. But you are incentivized with points when they're grading it, if you're providing,
Could you
we'll
just
say,
keep it down?
if we're providing a cost match. And what I'm matching is I'm saying, my time that I work on this during normal work hours, Michelle's time during normal work hours, we're not charging that back to the grant. Confire will eat those costs because this is a benefit to the community when we're working on it. Crew 12, when they're working on it on their scheduled work days and they do mitigation work, we're not gonna charge the grant for it. We're doing it for the betterment of the community. We're not gonna, we'll say charge them, but we show them that, hey, we're gonna give a couple $100,000. And we'll say a cost match if you give us a $950,000, because that's what we're capped that we can ask.
So August 6th is just 3 weeks from now?
Yes.
And then to try and get to 80% of our neighborhood or this corridor to get approval by that, like I'm imagining like I'm gonna be out there walking, talking to my neighbors and knocking on doors and
Having them fill out the letter.
and getting people to fill out the letter. So where I can't tell looking at the map.
Just go back there.
No, that's not my question. My question is, how big is where is the area that you need approval?
So this area, this is roughly, if I remember correctly, about 300 foot wide. And as we get up in here, it doesn't need, and this is about 600 foot wide. Up by Bernhard Avenue. It doesn't need to be that wide. So, we can shrink that because this is where there's a huge cluster of homes. And my concern is, as I've studied this map a little more, I don't know it really meets the intent when you're talking about, you're really looking at just the defensible space around the house that needs done. And where we need to focus on is that border between the open space and the back of houses.
So, right, Bernhard Avenue, for example, so are you looking for approval along Bernhard Avenue? Immediately adjacent to the area for mitigation?
To the east,
yes.
Yeah, the canyon side, not the west side.
And
not the west side.
That's
Just.
We have two on Zoom for all that.
Okay, I need to get this, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I kind of want everybody to hear it. I'll speak up loud because I'm loud. So there's a couple of problems in there, and I think everybody needs to understand this. If we don't get this defensible space, if you don't get to your neighbors, especially ones on the west side of Bernard, but also we live on the finger streets. East side, sorry. We live on the finger streets, the dead ends down there. Fair plan, if you don't know this, is going to be a thing if we don't find this defensible space. So this is of great importance.
Hail Mary.
Because it is a Hail Mary, because every time October runs around, I know all of you, like me, are fearing for your property and your life. So getting to your neighbors, I think, is going to be really important. So if you know these people that have the properties that are on the Canaan side, that go down, so I would implore you to convince them that it is in their best interest, not only of fire, but also of insurance rates that can go as much as 10 times what they're paying for insurance now. I have people over in Mill Valley and those areas that are paying $20,000 a year for a regular property size for insurance. So this is part of the larger scope of it. My question is that if you have a neighborhood like we are with the fingers going down in, which are basically in this defensible space area, and you have neighbors that either because they have mental issues or because they just are irascible, they do nothing to the property and they have giant amounts of weeds growing in their backyard. Is there anything we can do with that? Because they're not going to sign this.
So we do have the ability to do the weed abatement enforcement.
But it's in their backyard, so how do you get there?
Yeah, we have to be able to see it from the public way, or they have to.
What if I bring the crane?
They have to give us the permission to enter, and usually we see that if their backyard is bad, usually we start with the front.
Right.
And we sign that, and then we start communicating, we educate why it's so important that they need to do the weed abatement. And we work with them and say, I don't want to send a contractor out to do this work and then pay for it and lien your property and take 2 to 3 years to get the money back. We'd rather work with you and educate you on the importance of why you need to do this.
Right.
And provide a reasonable timeline of when you can get it done.
Is there an ordinance that's coming down that will make this happen? Because literally, there's several neighbors in the area that have, either sometimes they're older and they don't have the ability, they've lost the ability to take care of their yards. How do we address that?
So I think you try and, like, how I'm trying to sell it is, this is an opportunity to get your yard back, especially if you're in this mapped area. This is an opportunity to get your yard and your vegetation back to where it should be, and it will be compliant with the exterior hazard requirements and defensible space requirements if it's within that mapped area. Now, when I say that, because I'm not gonna include zone 0 in that statement, because that includes potentially removal of vegetation 0 to 5 feet from the house, issues with the fence, and issues with vegetation 0 to 5 feet. But we're not gonna be in that, we're not gonna have that issue, because that won't, even if everything passes that they're proposing right now, that won't go into effect for 3 years for existing homes.
Right. Last question, and hopefully it'll address other people's concerns in this matter. If there is someone in that property that will not answer or will not do anything, how can we alert you or whoever is concerned during this abatement process, because we will follow it within that zone? How can we get them to, how can we help you get them to that, because they will not?
I think the best number that we can come up with to show.
Something I can write.
No, I just think though that by helping us with the door to door, getting the signed letters of commitment with addresses and names on them. If we're able, because we'll scan them all, if we're able to show CAL FIRE that, hey, we didn't realize this was coming out this quick. Usually you always submit your prevention grant, is always posted in the fall. November and December, and you award in March.
Right.
And you throw us a curveball and you release it in, at the end of June and say it's due by August sixth.
So you need us.
So we do, because we thought that we still had 4 or 5 months to have these meetings, educate residents, work on our plan, and I also didn't realize that we were gonna be limited at 950, but because of the CEQA exemption, it's still putting us right on track where we need to be, and we don't have to make it smaller.
Chief, yeah. And Michael, right?
Yeah, that's Steve.
There's two pieces of this stuff.
Right.
I know you're talking about, there are a couple properties that have turned into a fire hazard. And each year, the fuel management part of the county will come up and they'll check that. In the past, I've talked to Captain Lang about that. They're actually come up, they'll talk to the property owner and let them know this has to be cleaned up. And then they take it from there. That's separate from this thing, okay?
Right.
And I know that we have a couple residents that, for whatever reason, they can't take care of it.
But our properties fall kind of within the zone because we're dead end to the canyon.
Yeah.
But we're not.
Right.
We have a kind of weird
But
space.
it sounds to me for this is the most important thing. This is the clock that's ticking. Is it, I think we should just print these out, you know, the confirmation letter, not the denial letter.
Yeah.
And take this letter around and let them know, put your address, even if they don't live by the county.
And then how do we get the letters to you?
They
That we
mail it right
We
from
can,
the
we can have,
It's already addressed.
yeah, you can either mail it to us or email it, or just if, we could even have a sticker pickup to say, hey, up on this date, we could come back out here and collect all of them from the HOA or whoever, to say we can design, you know, pick a pickup date. Cause it's only gonna take us an hour to put them all together and scan them. I don't wanna collect, although I could add them to the application, I don't wanna wait until August 5th to do that.
No,
Because I need to be able to finalize my map
yeah,
to reflect the area that we're proposing. And if I need to make a modification to the map, we're willing to do that. If it's showing that there's areas that I do have those signed letters and we need to modify it. And because there's always an option that, let's just give a hypothetical, let's say you're down in this area and I don't get the letters of support. But I have them through here, we make this area a little smaller and we move north. It doesn't mean that this area is just out, because the other thing that CAL FIRE likes is they like phased projects and continuation. When we got the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Fuel Break, that was on the coattails of Maraga Arinda doing the Tunnel Hills Shaded Fuel Break, and we identified and said, we're gonna connect right into and take off where they stopped. And then instead of a 13-mile shaded fuel break, we're gonna tie into their 16-mile shaded fuel break and have almost a 30-mile shaded fuel break around 4 cities. And they're like, we love it. So there's always options of wherever we can start, let's start there, because next year we can come back and add El Cerrito, expand areas of Richmond, and make this phase 2. Because the timeline allows us to move very quickly on this. If we're, awarded. And that's my hope, is that we're able to then phase it and say, hey, let's talk to our neighboring departments and let's do a phase 2 and a phase 3. Keep going north and keep going south.
Yeah, 2 on Zoom, that
Okay.
ability. James, can you go ahead and unmute yourself?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so the main first thing I wanted to say was I'd really like a copy of that slide deck. Ronnie told me that you're going to send it out in a link to the MAC newsletter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
oh, good.
So everybody that wants it, make sure you're on the MAC newsletter, I guess, if you want to get a hold of that slide deck. My second question / comment is the map is very difficult to see on the Zoom. Somebody tried to share a link, but it didn't work. But from what I can see, it looks like the big pink area, the high fire danger area, is not part of the proposed project. That's just the high fire danger area. Is that correct?
That's correct, because that's all East Bay Regional Park. That's pretty much
So-
East Regional Park boundary.
Okay, so, I'm actually right there up against the park. So, looking at it from my perspective, I've taken care of my property. My property's fine. It's on the park side that I want to make sure, there's a lot of really congested areas there within 100 feet of my property that are on the park side. And there's a lot of eucalyptus trees. We've been discussing it in chat for quite a while here. What about eliminating these invasive, matchstick trees? The eucalyptus, it doesn't sound like that's what you mean when you are clearing the ladder fuels.
That's correct. And again, the easy thing would have been to do the work in East Bay Regional Park, deal with one landowner. But when you're looking at the map, and I know you said you can't see it real well, when you see the Wildcat Canyon Creek and how it goes right up along there, the problem is that's considered a watershed, and watershed has restricted areas. So even when we did the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Field Break, I'll give you an example. When we went down Hunsaker Canyon Road, there were sections that we just had to totally leave it. Could not touch it because of the watershed. And we were actually inspected by the state water board. They came out and did inspections on the site, I think, was it April? And confirmed that we did not touch the watershed area. So if we were to try and do that, we have this big area right in here around that watershed that we would be restricted, and we can't do the work.
Can't really see where you're pointing on Zoom, so.
So it's in that area of, when you look at the map and you see Wildcat Canyon Regional Park, you'll see Wildcat Creek.
Hey, that's helpful, circling on the map.
Yeah, when you follow that up there, and you'll see in the pink, it's this blue line. And it's not just the creek, you have to go so many feet on each side of the creek, and I think it's 50 feet on each side of the creek that you cannot touch. So now you have this scenario of, okay, I'm gonna create a field break on East Bay Regional Parks, but maybe it's only 50 feet wide because I have this buffer of 100 feet that we can't touch because of the creek. So that's why we decided to focus on property owners, because Sequoia also told us when you're running property owners, you're gonna be outside of that watershed area and you won't have to deal with leaving areas alone.
Well, that's helpful to understand. And I think that, I don't know if I'm in the minority or not here, but there are a few property owners with big parcels that need some attention, and either can't take care of it or don't take care of it, or it's too expensive, so they don't take care of it. And those are the people that could really benefit from this, seems to me.
Okay, and we can also make sure that not only do you just get the PowerPoint, but you get a standalone copy of the map, so it should be easier to zoom in on it. So
that would be helpful.
Joanne, can you unmute? No, you actually ended up with James also.
Yes, I unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. I want to clarify that I'm understanding this right. So you're looking for 80% support from the property owners within the boundary, because I'm sure you're going to get, there's a lot of support from the entire East Richmond Heights area. And what does that matter? How does that influence the decision? Or is it just, do they just look strictly at the people within the boundary lines? And another question is, how do you distinguish renters from owners? I'm sure if we go to some of these properties and there's renters there, they're going to be willing to sign. How is it researched, whether it's the owner consent or a renter consent? And I just wanted to, if you could tell me again, when is the CEQA exemption dead that Governor Newsom just authorized?
It's an executive order for fast track, dealing with mitigation projects. We still have to file the paperwork, submit the plan, submit the map. Everything's got to be submitted before October 1st. And the work has to start before October 1st of next year. And what it does, it exempts, we still have to do the on-site monitoring, but it exempts the cost and the research and the time to do the CalVTP project and the PSA document. Which,
okay, thank you.
Walnut Creek Shaded Field Break, I think it was about 250 pages when it was all said and done, and it took 16 months to create that document.
Okay, and then what about the 80% and the people submitting support outside outside of the boundaries? Does that influence the decision?
Yeah, it absolutely will, and that's why I'm wanting every letter, even if you're not in there, and even if we don't modify the map, because we can be creative in our wording of a narrative. And say, based on the short time frame that we were given to gather these signatures, we know that we have enough support from homeowners in this area. That if we need to make a slight modification, either north or south to our map, we are sure that we will be able to commit to 50+ acres. And it will, so you will help us, because maybe by August 6th, you're not in it, but then over the next 3 months, as we continue to work on this and we find out we get funding and we get the RFP, well, you can make a modification to it. CAL FIRE is gonna say, I just wanna make sure that you can get 50 acres done. So if we have to move it and shift it 10 acres one way and take 10 acres off, they don't care. They just want 50 acres done. But we have to submit a map to them and then show them, and we'll just explain it. Based on the timeline, we weren't able to get in touch with every resident, but we know that this area is overwhelmingly supporting the proposal. And if we have to shift the map boundaries, we're willing to do that in the next 6 months.
And you may be able to shift them with the people who haven't signed.
Correct.
By getting them to sign after the.
Yes.
Real quick question.
So you are willing to take renters?
Yes. Well, ideally, we're taking homeowners, but if a renter signs, we will not do the mitigation work. If we get awarded, we will not do the mitigation work based on a renter signature. We know, because we'll confirm every letter. So although I don't have time to do that before we submit, we would do that before we would do the work. So if you're a property owner and you're concerned that a renter is gonna sign on your behalf, we wouldn't do the work without the owner's consent.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love what you're saying about the residential properties. Where I live, the greatest threat is from the Parks Department. How closely are they working with you or not working?
So that we did get a letter of support and commitment from them. That in these couple areas, here's one, right there's one, and I knew there was one right here.
I have no idea where.
So the problem is, I don't know the streets, but I had to share a link with them and say, and I actually said, here's your parcel numbers that this map is crossing, and we gave them the parcel numbers.
Some of those streets are Park, McBride, Dim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and said, if we do this, you have to be willing to either your hand crew does the work and does not charge us, or you have to let our contractor onto your park to do the work. And they did agree to that commitment and provided us a letter when we submitted last year. We need to get that letter updated with that same commitment and letting them know these are the same parcels that are on your land that we cannot skip, that we need to make sure we're doing, because they're kind of those fingers. That it's not following the straight line that we avoided, but we're not gonna create a jagged map that just doesn't make sense. We need to try and make the straight line where it makes sense with topography and to make a legitimate fuel break.
Real quick, so I heard you say before that what you're talking about is vegetation more than 100 feet from your house? Did I hear that correctly?
Ideally, but in some of them,
So
when you have the 100 feet, we're gonna just do all of it if you're in that shaded area.
So that means you might be going to within like 20 feet of some people's house?
We could, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, we're not gonna say, this is 100 feet, it's on you, because like out of Rossmore, we tried to stay 100 feet and say, Rossmore, this is your responsibility. But in other areas, it didn't make sense, and we said, well, you're kind of getting a freebie and we're helping you out with what your responsibility. And we went within like 40 feet or 50 feet of the residence and cleaned it up, because that's just where it made sense. Where they had very manicured landscaping, but then at 40 feet out, it was just tall grasses and brush.
And then just a real quick comment, I mean, it doesn't really matter where this break happens because you don't know where the fire's coming through. So you make this break anywhere and it's good for everybody, right? I mean, because they come where it comes, and we're just.
That and again, think big picture.
Yeah.
And this is a section, somewhere through here's where we're gonna start.
Right.
And just like we did with Raga Arinda, and we expanded on theirs, and now that's 30 some miles. There's no reason this can't be, 6-7 miles down the road through multiple phases. Confire is committed, we're gonna wanna keep going north. We're gonna try and convince our neighboring partners and with Richmond and El Cerrito to say, let's keep working south. We'll help you write the grant, we'll help you do it, we'll be a regional partner. We're just gonna focus on an area that's in our jurisdiction that we've identified is that we feel is a good starting.
And let me just last say, thank you.
Yeah.
Really. A lot of people, you're doing a great job.
And it's still being so articulate.
You got some.
Kevin, appreciate it.
So from the Hassport Heights side, we're committed and we're gonna get the signatures. You just need to know how many to target before the deadline. Say the percentage, but we're trying to put that to house.
So I think, when we're done, let's go back and look at the map, show me the area you're talking about, and I'll make sure it's reasonable. Because I wanna keep it in an area that we would legitimately move it if we don't get support in a certain area.
And the last comment is, because this map was drawn, so we've been working with Michelle, but Hassport Heights was left out of that map, which is on the north side of Alvarado Park.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of fuels that could just flow right into homes, but anyways, yeah, so that's my.
Yeah, I just wanna pass on, like, if we move this, please don't feel that like, this is this horrible thing that we did, it's just based on timing. And I assure you, we will come back next year and apply, if we're successful, that's the other thing I wanna demonstrate to CAL FIRE. You gave us this grant, we got it done in less than a year. And then next year when it opens again, those are the agencies they wanna award money to that produce quick results and are successful. And I feel we've demonstrated that with the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Field Break, that from when we broke ground, and I explained this in a narrative. Yes, I had an 16 to 18 month pause, but it was because of, we'll say, documentation that you mandated I had to provide. But once we started doing the work, we were 85% done in 12 months with 190 acres. So that's why I have no concern about doing 50 acres in a year.
Yeah.
But up here, then I'll start with.
Okay, so in terms of the organization of this, it seems that having some sort of spreadsheet to let people know, like, hey, we're gonna take this team, we're gonna do this block. So that there's some sort of, I mean, we don't have a lot of time. So was something done like that in Lafayette where you're able to assign people, or that we're able to reach out to the community?
We did do that
and do
when we went
this?
after the fact, when we went in Hunsucker Canyon, we did create a spreadsheet parcel number, and we can do that. In fact, I would say I could. Wednesday, by Monday, I should be able to have that done.
Because then we can identify someone on that block who can take responsibility, and then if everyone can see it, we'll know, like 80% doesn't mean very much, but if you say you need 90 homes here, or you need 1,000 homes, like my block has 24 homes on it, something like that. So if I know it's 80%, right, that's 16 homes, right?
Yeah.
I might get more, but the point is, I feel like we need actual numbers and team leaders in areas that can then look and say, they're gonna take over a certain number. And then also, for some of these larger parcels of land, like let's say, like the woman who was here said she has 6 acres, that might be, is that a percentage, and will that count for more?
Yes, because what CAL FIRE did, they're not really looking at how many parcels are.
They're looking at 50 acres.
They're looking at 50 acres.
Got it.
So if you have space, you see what I'm saying? That gets us even that closer. So if we have 50 acres and we're for 80%, it's like, can I say that we have commitment out of 35 to 40 acres? I think they're gonna be happy with that.
Great.
And then also if I'm able to write all these extra letters and say, and if we're not able to get the commitment, from some of these parcels that we haven't been able to reach. We can move one direction or another because we do have letters of commitment from this area.
So the other thing that I think would be super helpful, I don't know. if you have
Okay.
It's there, but if there's something online where people could fill it out and hit submit, that instead of sending it in or emailing it, but something that can be an automatic way that we can even put in people's mailboxes or make phone calls and say, go to this website, and then it could just get submitted. And then we're all looking at the spreadsheet to know what is the tally. We can have a contest, right? We can have like different areas that say. But you don't have, but I'm just saying, but that's the most, it's the most efficient way to have something on there that people can just hit submit and then it goes.
It's really, because a Google form is definitely the easiest.
Yes.
I just need to make sure I can attach the Google form because I need the signature. I just can't have it typed in.
So there's a way to actually do a signature
Okay.
on the computer. So you need to find out.
I will look into that tomorrow and we'll, but at a minimum, the spreadsheet is absolutely something that we can create, and we did for Hunsaker Canyon.
Okay, that would be great.
So good news is we're out of printed letters.
Great.
How many did you bring?
Letters of commitment,
How many did you
50.
bring? 50, okay.
So I had 50 on site and I'm emailing more, and we have promises from community members to canvas their own neighborhood. So what I can do is I can set up a time with any MAC member or any member of the community to come out and pick up those letters.
And don't forget, we have that art and music festival on the second.
Yes.
We're gonna get a lot of people that day, so we get a lot of.
You already plugged me.
Yeah.
I'm already gonna be there, that's great.
Okay.
In terms of these confirmation commitments, I'm still not clear, are you talking about anybody and everybody here in East Richmond Heights? Or are you talking about just the people along their properties, let me finish, whose properties would be engaged in this mitigation? Cause I'm totally.
So if you're more, we'll say dense, and you're not along kind of that line that we're proposing.
For example, I'm a half a block in.
Oh, if you're a half block in, then absolutely, fine, because what we can say is if there's areas that it makes sense to make it wider, then we will. But it's just, this is the, we'll say, the draft map that we come up with to say, we hit roughly 50 acres with this map. Because the other thing we can do is if I hit a buffer or I hit a wall and I can't get the other, commitment to keep going north, but I have commitment to make it another half block wider, then we will.
But I mean, I'm just saying, is this saying that we're committing to having our properties engaged in this mitigation, or are we just saying we're concerned and we support this project? That's what I'm trying to get at.
It's saying, so if you're signing that, you're saying that if the map includes your parcel, that you're okay at no cost to you to do the type of work that we've demonstrated, that we have shown tonight that could include, and again, I don't know how big your parcel is. Potentially go grading, potentially prescribed burning, eliminating scrub and brush, limbing up trees. We're not cutting down any tree that's 10 inches or larger.
Diameter should come.
Unless it's dying of sudden death syndrome.
Yeah, and even in the ones that like, we'll say that we did cut down, we have an arborist. It isn't a firefighter saying, yep, I think that needs to come out. No, we have a full arborist report that says that tree will not make it, it needs to come down.
Kind of a giant oak that's dying.
We can discuss about that.
You might ask.
So if definitely on the Camden side. You get into the counties, how are you going to get this? How do you go through somebody's yard? Because you're in the back, right? How do you get in?
Through their front units. Through their, because we'll have permission. That will be given, so the contractor will say, I have permission, and I'll be entering the yard. If there's a locked gate, then it's all coordinated. I mean, we've done this in Hunsaker Canyon, and I think there was 50 or 60 different property owners. And they know, and yeah, exactly, they know what day we set up, we say, we're coming, the contractor's coming down this side of the road. And we'll be at this, from this house to this house on Monday. Tuesday, here's what they'll be. Do you have special instructions? Do you have any concerns? And it was all coordinated. And then what we did was we had kind of like block leaders that would say, this is my spokesperson, I've talked to them, here's the notes. This is what they said, please make sure you don't have, yes, and
Very quick.
I'll tell you, nobody is upset in Huntsinger County with the work. I mean, we have 60, 70 residents that are just like, thank you, this is amazing.
I'm sure letters.
So.
Sometimes I've seen the security work that was done in East Bay Regional Park District, well, that, and it was just shocking what they cut down. It's really just a use case. You know, it's ecologically devastating what they did. There's weeds that are fine to cut down and trash material, and then there's like goyon and you know this and you know, plants that belong here that are not as flammable as like invasive grasses. So I'm wondering what happens when they go to a property? Is anybody who knows plants can be on site or take the property on any time?
So how we dealt with that in Huntsinger County is there were certain property owners that said, I want to keep this style of plant or bush and this provided reasons why. And the environmental staff that or biologist that was on site said, ideally it would be removed. But we can support that because we're still clearing this vegetation. And we're just gonna make a note that the recommendation was to remove it, but the property owner, it's your property. The property owner still says, this plant or this shrub, this means a lot to me, and I'm still gonna keep, so maybe we were 80% to where we wanted to be. That's still better than saying, let's just skip the property. So we are 80% in getting rid of all the brush we wanted to, you've kept the 20% you were concerned about, so it's still better off than what it was. And it's just documented in the report that if it comes back and CAL FIRE says, well, wait a minute, this looks a little heavier than these others. Here's the documentation why, this was the property owner's wishes, and that's what we adhere to.
You guys are real sweethearts. I can hardly believe what I'm hearing. I have a question that maybe other people will be interested in. We live right on the east side of Bernard Avenue. Behind our house is the East Bay Regional Park property. I think our lot, which is about 110 feet deep, I believe, has a shaded fire break thanks to her. The ground is virtually bare, but adjacent is not. And 1 foot over the park property, which would be a watershed. And by the way, I am not at all into this kind of wild, random, intense cutting and clear cutting. I'm extremely unhappy or worried about it, kind of as an idea. So in our case, I could say, yeah, you guys have permission. Probably you won't do anything because I'm guessing it would comply. But it sounds like we do have at some point the opportunity to talk to someone before they come in and start cutting stuff down. Is that right?
And he wants to come to you.
Or is the letter really in effect giving you carte blanche?
No, the letter's really saying you're going to work with us to mitigate your property in the terms that were identified.
Okay, so how much of the shaded break will extend into the East Bay Regional Park property? Not that I want to, but I'm curious. As a rule, it appears to me, parks, you know, it's a park, we don't cut it down, we don't mess with it.
Well,
are they gonna say?
So we hear something different. We hear that they have received millions of dollars
Yeah.
in grant money and they are doing millions of dollars in work around the Bay Area.
But do you foresee?
Now, we have asked for, then I want to see in Contra Costa County where you're doing mitigation work and mapping it out, because the other thing we're doing is we're mapping every break that we do, not just CAL FIRE, but every break that Measure X is paying for, we're mapping.
But is this zone you're talking about going to go into the East Bay Regional Park property?
Just a few areas, just a handful of parcels.
So probably not.
Where it makes sense, that like, we're not gonna, where if they have a finger in it, we're gonna keep on going and we're gonna include those parcels to make sure it's contiguous. But the big thing that's restricting us behind, I believe, the area you're talking about is the watershed, and that's why we drew it on the property line of the homeowners.
Okay, the other thing I will say, just parenthetically, I like to hear that you're gonna come back in 2 or 3 years. In my experience, kind of easy to talk and say whether it will happen, right? Who knows? I hope it would. But in this area behind our property, a few years ago, I think the neighbor God was persuaded to park the East Bay Regional Park. They got the civilian conservation corps in there. And they did kind of what you're talking about, but more like the clear cutting version than the shaded. And the secondary growth was back a year or two later, bad as ever or worse than ever. I'm not convinced that these things always down the road are then fire resistant.
Well, and that's why I really wanted to target an area that really did encompass a lot of people's backyards. Hoping that it would be something they would have a vested interest in maintaining and would be easier to maintain 3 or 4 years from now. Rather than a side of a slope of a hill that's strategically placed to try and separate the wildland from the homes, and this is our break. And you're relying on one big property owner to maintain that. So it's kind of like, I'm always looking for comparisons to say what works better. We have this example of one big large property owner for the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shade Fuel Break, but then we also had great success down Hunsucker Canyon that I'm dealing with this. We had 60, 70 property owners. We all got signed letters to enter their property with the contractor and dealt with it after the fact. That was a lot more labor intensive and it slowed us down. But knowing that this is a smaller project, I'm not concerned about that. We'll say property or the involvement with the property owners if we're awarded. I just need to make sure that we don't get awarded and CAL FIRE say, see, we told you that's why we denied, because now we awarded this money and you can't find property owners that are saying, yes, I'm interested.
Do you think this is even possible by August 6th?
Yes. Yeah. I really do, because I think we just have to demonstrate that. Last year when I submitted, I had 0 notice. I didn't think of it. I had my letters from East Bay Regional Park, from Richmond Fire Department, and from our board of supervisors. And I thought that would be sufficient. And running on we've been very successful with with the previous grant. I hadn't been in Hunsucker Canyon yet, so I wasn't able to use that example. I have experience in working in neighborhoods with 60 to 70 property owners, of which we have 0 complaints. And nobody is unsatisfied. In fact, I have email after email of satisfied residents saying, we can't believe what you did to our community. Because they were 1 way in and out, 2 miles to the back, and they were concerned. We followed the roadway when we did it.
Those are kind of large acreage.
Yeah.
It's not like 40-foot lot all along the road.
No, they're pretty deep. But see, we only went 50 feet, yeah, we only went 50 feet on each side of the road as we went up. But it was very overgrown.
Chief, he's got a question and then we'll go to Zoom.
Yeah, I'll go to Zoom next, okay.
Okay.
It seems like you have a lot of experience working with private owners, but nothing with the park district. If the park district took care of it, we wouldn't even be here tonight to take care of their issues. I'm talking about watersheds or woodlands. Midland Park, we're back up to 38 acres of eucalypts over there that are endangering our houses, and it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, my point is that unless we can get them here, because they're obviously not here, it would be nice to get some commitment on their part, find out what their particular approach and what their portion of work would be, and then for yours, and they get put together.
I really feel that exposure is what's gonna really push that. And if we're successful in the property owners cleaning up all of their land that adjoins the park. And we show before and after pictures, and then we show the after that we still need them now to address this. That's how we're gonna get to move the needle. Because we're gonna say the community has done their part.
Yeah.
We now need you to extend this, go apply for a grant. And say you're tying onto this, you're expanding it, you're making it better, it's gonna increase their odds of getting a grant. As well, because they are gonna have to avoid that area where the watershed is, but they're still a lengthy area that they could improve, and I think they will, especially if we're able to lead the charge.
I'm just concerned when you said that 10-inch trees or larger are gonna be cut.
Yes.
Are you specific to species? Species?
So currently, we don't have a tree ordinance in this county that identifies to say that there is a hazardous tree or a tree that needs to be cut down of any certain type. There is a draft ordinance that does include eucalyptus. With that, I support that, but until we have that in place, I need to kind of follow the guidelines that we've set up in our county. The state will fund to cut those down because some of these grants are including thinning and limbing out. Now, it's usually not get rid of every single eucalyptus, but we need to thin the groves. And they'll say, because long-term, it's gonna help even with the survivability of some of those trees. I will also say that I was down at the Palisades fire, and there were areas that eucalyptus groves were properly maintained, trees were properly spaced. And when you drove by them, like, everything around them was burnt and they were still standing. So it just depends on, how are they maintained and how dense are they? If you get any brand of tree, and it's super dense, or not well maintained, they're gonna go up. And, I was shocked at the number of palm trees that I saw that were torched. And then a block away, you're seeing them and they're fine. And I would only assume that, well, those must not have been very well maintained palm trees for this, every palm tree in this property owners to be gone, but yet down the street, they're still, standing. So maintenance of your tree is also very important.
Again, we're just talking about the Park District limbed up the eucalyptus we're talking about, 2015. It's about 40 feet. Making it much safer a grove for eucalyptus. And of course, they don't realize it's a maintenance thing. This is all maintenance, it's not about one time. So the point is, it has to be done continually, it has to be budgeted for continually. We think, oh, can't believe this, and we can't hit this budget again, well, it's gonna be forever. And so I'm just saying, I think that we need to get you and the Park District in some kind of agreement that says, hey, we're slopping over here, and that we have to get to that coordinated, because you can't just have you come in line and stop at someone's property, because Park District now is a disaster. And we did have the Park District come through, John Joy's committee, we had 5 years ago, they actually came through and it did work, because we forced them to. They finally realized, okay, we'll find some money, and they did. Not enough, anyway, they did something.
I think I have another question here.
Yeah, do you want to do
three? Let me come back to you. I know I was actually, so whoever you want to call.
Joanne? Council member Joanne.
Hi, yes, I just wanted a clarification. The notice we received said that all of the letters had to be in 10 days after this meeting to make the determination if you would stick with this area or move on to another. And I know we can continue at the Arts and Music Festival for additional, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows that these letters have to be in within 10 days. Is that correct? That was what the notice said.
So the idea is that we need to see overwhelming support for the area in the next 10 days. If we don't have everybody, continuous, we're still going to focus our effort on the East Richmond High Shaded Field Break. I just needed to make sure, and I feel I got that tonight, talking to the residents, that they support this idea. They wanted clarification. They wanted to ask questions about what type of work we were going to do. What does it mean when they sign this letter? And be assured that we weren't going to just come in and we'll say moonscape and cut everything down on their property, which I hope we've demonstrated we're not going to do.
Thank you.
Supervisor Joy, I noticed you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to say I appreciate the fire district really making this presentation to see community interest. I just wanted to say our office is prepared to help in any way in getting signatures, and so Chief, what do you think is the best way we could help? I mean, we obviously can help do outreach. We have a pretty good network on that. We can make copies of what we need and help with that. So, what ways do you think our office could be most helpful?
I think if there's a drop-off location that residents could drop off at a location would be helpful. And then let me confirm if we can get something set up on like a Google form for people to sign up. But I know we will definitely work and be able to create the spreadsheet, because we did it in Hunsaker Canyon, that identify here's the parcels that we have commitment from, and here's still the parcel numbers or addresses that we're searching.
Okay.
I think
I'll talk to Ronnie, and we'll be in contact with you about how we can be helpful. And Bara, you reminded me that it's we have the East Richmond Heights Music Festival coming up on August 2nd, and we can do some publicity there as well.
I think Michelle is actually coming. I think Michelle is going to be at the festival.
Good. We can all have Michelle, let's talk about a resource table that we have.
Okay. Will you accept mailed-in letters? That's another thing. Give an address.
And where's the best address to mail them? To our office, to the fire district? Where would be best?
I think it's on the letter to send to our office.
Yeah, it's all on the letter.
Yeah.
Can people take a photograph with their phone and then email that, or does it have to be text?
As long as it's identifiable that it's a for sure signature. And then ideally, if they could mail us the original, so we could have that in a file. But if we're in a pinch on time, they can take a picture but I'd still ideally want their original mailed to us or dropped off.
And then James Osborne has his hand up.
James Osborne?
Hey, on behalf of Sharon Anderson, she was wondering if there's a phone number that she can call to ask questions and have them answered.
Yes, it would be Michelle Reinhardt, and we had her number up earlier. We'll see if we can post her contact information.
Yeah, maybe send it to the MAC newsletter address mailing would be good.
Okay, Ronnie, will you be able to?
Yeah, it's sent out every Friday, so it'll be listed this Friday as well.
All right, so basically a number for her will be there for Sharon to call.
Yeah, and if no, like Michelle and I probably talk every other day. So if there's a question that she can't answer, we are in constant communication, and I'll be able to get her an answer if she's not able to answer your question.
Perfect.
I wrote her number down. You want to just read it off? I'm gonna read it off now.
Ronnie's gonna include it in the newsletter, like about Friday.
I'm dying to ask a question.
Sure.
So you said, oh, well, we couldn't target eucalyptus trees because it's not in the ordinance. So I'm wondering, what kind of ordinance is that could be adjusted so that your crew could selectively eliminate eucalyptus trees? Where would the ordinance need to come from?
So it comes from the county and John, I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, I can talk. Yeah, so as you know, our county building and planning department only has jurisdiction over the unincorporated areas, unlike the fire district, which covers cities and unincorporated areas and is a different type of authority. The county is working on an update to its tree ordinance, and I know they are looking at including fire issues, fire resistancy in that ordinance. I don't know where that stands. They've been working on it for a couple of years. I know they've talked to the fire district a bit about some of these issues, but the ordinance would cover only the unincorporated areas. And so it would cover, East Richmond Heights. It wouldn't necessarily impact the Park District. I will say this, the Park District, did a whole environmental impact report on their vegetation management program. It took a long time to do that. So what they have said is that they have a plan that was identified in their EIR, and the issue is really about getting funding to implement the plan. So I know one of the things we've talked about with them at our, coalition of governments, Wildfire Coalition of Governments, is how to advocate for funding, state funding, for them to do what is in their plan.
Supervisor Joya, do you think you could follow up on the tree ordinance if it's been a couple of years and making it doesn't sound like really?
I will. I think they've been working on it for a couple of years, and I know what happened is, their main focus was finishing the update to the general plan. And as the MAC knows, East Richmond MAC had a lot of input into that. And so they finished that, and I think they can probably get back to some of these other tasks. Their main focus had been finalizing the new general plan and zoning. Well, they're working on zoning issues now, but I will follow up on the tree issue.
Any other questions?
So quick.
Sure.
Yeah, keep going. So you will have a biological monitor on the site or not?
There will be, so biological monitors will not be out there every single day. But if it works, which I'm envisioning it working the same as it did in Lafayette and Walnut Creek, they came out at least once a week. Sometimes it was more depending on the area we were in. What they would do is they would brief the crew, they would always confirm, do we have any new members on the crew that need trained? To make sure that, we're all on the same page in the scope of what we're doing. And then they would say, okay, we've already flagged areas. It depends on the time of year, because you have nesting birds, you have different times of the year that wood rats that you have to, they said, oh, we've identified a wood rat nest up there. We're gonna flag that, you just need to make sure you go around it.
Yeah.
So it didn't require, we'll say, daily on-site monitoring.
Yeah.
But there was weekly monitoring, and sometimes more than once a week, depending on the area we're in and what it is.
Sure. And because this is different than Walnut Creek, because it's a lot wetter, in some cases along the hills, there's an oak understory with ferns, just low growing native ground cover. Where that's been removed and limbed up, it's actually created a heavy weedy situation permanently. So does the supervisor kind of go, yeah, we'll do a light touch here, or does everything kind of go 3 inches and below?
No, it's definitely evaluated by topography and what we're dealing with.
Yeah, great.
Because there's certain hillsides that I know when I went in, like the picture I showed, like those are the best areas. I have other pictures where you look at it, you'd say, oh, is that so before picture? No, the before picture is horrible. But because there was such a concern about erosion and it was an area that we had Alameda whip snake, we had to leave some islands.
Yeah.
And it just looks different, but it's still, 10 times better than had we not went through there and done anything.
Yeah.
But it's all documented. It's documented on our map that if a resident was to walk to that area and say, wait a minute, I thought you treated this. We did, but it was treated differently than others.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing is like the pictures we've shown up there tonight is probably more like what 80 to 90% of that looks like. And you have some pockets that we had to do something different.
Yeah, it's a lot harder and drier there, so it's a lot of annual fees already. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, I don't see any other hand raised online, any other
I think.
questions in the room. I appreciate your patience and letting us explain to you our goals and objectives of this and your overwhelming support. And again, I'm hoping that we're able to gain your trust by telling or showing you pictures of where we've been successful and what we've been able to do. And kind of our track record and success rate that we've had. This will be our second one. And to add to that, we're doing, mitigation projects on a smaller scale throughout the county and have been, now for this is on our third year. And we don't get complaints. We get a lot of positive comments. We're mapping all of those projects that are being funded through Measure X. And our goal is with the mapping that we're able to create a map that we have online to show for the entire county all the mitigation work that's being done, hoping that it helps insurance underwriters and insurance carriers to say, wow, Country Cross County is really taking this seriously and they're doing a lot of mitigation work. Let's reevaluate this before we just treat them like other counties that are in high risk areas.
Good.
All right, thank you very much, Chief.
And I'll be back by the map if we have any other questions specifically, for our residents online, we'll make sure that we include, a single, map that you'll be able to zoom in on to get better clarification, not just looking at the PowerPoint, but we'll also provide a copy of the PowerPoint as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your enthusiasm and your time and.
Sure.
Being in the project.
All right, we will then go on to our next item.
It's the after party.
Still on page one. Do we have, I can't tell, Ronnie, do we have Richmond Police on?
No, I don't see
Sergeant Thomas.
Thomas.
Okay, I do see Officer Zed from California Highway Patrol.
Hey, good evening. Can you guys hear me?
There you are, yes. Thank you for being patient with all of that.
All good. I do have some, finally, I got some good updates on Arlington. We have a radar trailer that'll be coming to Oakland very soon. As well as, so we'll be deploying that, and then we'll also be deploying officers to the area. So that came straight from the captain. He wanted me to let you guys know about that.
Okay.
The only other thing I wanted to address was last time, the last meeting, you guys asked if we'd be able to provide you guys with any updates to any ICE operations. So like I said before, we don't receive those updates from them when they do those operations. And so we typically will not, we don't get involved in their operations. And even, like I said, they don't notify us. We don't receive any of those updates when they are conducting an operation. We wouldn't be able to even get involved if they did, or if we had any intel or information, because technically that would be obstruction of justice. So they conduct their, and they're very well aware of that. I mean, California is a sanctuary state. And so I think because they are aware that, that we would not kind of assist. We wouldn't assist them with those operations, that they typically will not notify us. So I just wanted to give you guys updates on that, because I know that was a question that came up last time.
Okay. All right. Did you have a question?
Well, increasingly, they are not following, they're picking up people who are not, who have no reason to be picked up, just simply because they're either brown or black, and somehow I don't think that falls within the law. And so I do understand where you're coming from and everything, but I just want to present it that when does that, or can it ever, where is there a border there that is gonna, to me, they're crossing the border all the time of what is legal. So it seems, I know that you're not supposed to interact with them, but I don't know. It just seems.
Yeah, we'll just to your point, we will, when we do stop somebody, and there is for example, a want on them by federal agents, and let's say there's deportation orders on them, we typically won't notify that the federal government or those ICE agents, because that's not something that is taught by our department. That is not something that we do. We will stop the person for whatever it is we stopped them with before. Typically it goes back to the officers. Sometimes they'll notify them like, hey, you need to go take care of this, but we don't interact with ICE. So we will not send out that information. And again, that's not common practice for CHP.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect it. I guess the only thing I think about is people who are do not have deportation orders, but they are being picked up anyway. And, you know, some of them, you know, women, children, otherwise. It just seems like the law is being crossed there somehow that is not very moral. And at some point, it would be nice to know that it was gonna be addressed.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes back to, I think someone brought up the Stand Together Contra Costa County. I think that's a really good program that they've put in place. I was while they brought it up earlier, I was looking at it briefly. So I'm not too familiar with it, but in theory, it seems like it's something that would be beneficial as far as reporting any activities. So that way you guys are aware of what's happening within your area. Other than that, again, there's really zero involvement between us and them. And you know, we don't typically respond to house calls, so, or, you know, stuff within the city limits. So it's almost, you know, I think the PD, the police departments have more maybe more of a closer interaction with them than we would.
Yeah. I don't want to be wasting people's time. I know it's getting late, so.
Okay, is there anyone have any questions for Highway Patrol? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, Officer Zaya, thank you very much for being patient.
All right, you guys. You guys have a good night.
All right. Do we have the Red Cross with us?
No, I think she had to jump off the call, and so we're gonna, let's see if we can have her
Okay, all right, we'll move on to discussion items. I don't have any discussion items. Subcommittee reports, Joanne. And
There were there was not any land use applications that we reviewed, so no report.
All right, thank you. I did see Jim Way for a little bit. Okay. Item 7, regional historical presentation, nothing at this time, but we've been talking about.
Well, I think we're preparing for the festival.
Yeah,
So
we are preparing for the festival, that's true. And there will be some fun stuff there. Okay. Agenda items, speakers for upcoming meetings. We've talked about that before. I don't know if you want to.
I mean, it's still PG&E, because like we still keep getting our internet lines cut. I think it's been twice this year, 7 times last year. So like at some point, they either need to figure something out or put them underground or move them higher up.
Now, is this AT&T or Comcast?
So it's PG&E owns the poles, and they service them, but it is AT&T, so it would have to go through PG&E at some point too, because they own the poles. But I don't know, maybe it's both, I don't, but it is a problem. Like, because I'm having to pay twice as much now for internet, because I have more.
You went to a different system, yeah.
He's got 2.
Yeah, 2 now, because I have AT&T for high speed, and then I have to buy Starlink for when they cut my main line, it switches over. Because I sometimes work from home, so I need kind of internet, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not the only one doing that, so.
I think that'd be smart, to have PG&E and AT&T come and talk to us about the problem. Or having a problem.
Yeah, because it seems actually like they must live in the area because it's always around the same area that it happens.
So
No
this,
cameras
this,
catching them.
this is just in Hassford Heights, right?
Just in Hassford Heights, yeah.
And or North Arlington.
It's all around that Alpine area that you guys walk around for the thing.
Where that stop sign is missing, that we talked about.
Alpine and Riverside.
I'm not really sure that, you know, I think if we were gonna ask PG&E to come in, they're gonna say, it's AT&T. You know, that you're gonna need AT&T there, and then there's Comcast also.
Well, maybe.
What do you guys wanna do?
Maybe maybe the solution is getting cameras of some kind.
That's what I was just saying,
That
yeah.
the cameras are able, because it's not getting caught on anyone's camera at their house. But if there's some strategically placed cameras that are solar operated, then maybe we can at least get, you know, the license plate number.
I think they have to catch them in the act, cause I think that's part of the problem with like. The videos is like, even if you get the license plate, if you don't get a face, the police won't do anything.
Okay, so how do you wanna do this? Cause we're talking about speakers for an upcoming meeting. And it's a crime is what's happening. It's a criminal act.
Well, it's criminal and also negligence, I would claim, from AT&T and PG&E for their lack of investment in the area. Cause it's, I mean, it wouldn't, like, the crime would be deterred if it weren't for disinvestment in our area, like. You know, and it impacts this area too, because we're just one, like, hillside. We're on the same hillside, but just one section away from it crossing over too.
I think we lost John.
I think you
Did we lose
are
John?
right, I think it seems to be somebody in the neighborhood doing it.
I'm wondering if there has to be
It seems like it's
someone.
really focused.
We could start with PG&E, someone that. I'm sure they have
Records of what
people,
happens.
well, they have people that handle. You know. Criminal attacks against their stuff.
We have a government,
Well, the
government
has to be sold
representative.
somewhere.
I've been emailing them since fall of last year. They're incredibly difficult to get in contact with, so I can reach out again.
Could you reach out and see if there's someone we could talk to about that?
Yeah.
I mean, this is one particular area, but it's ongoing and
Could we find out what sort of security policies or practices they've used in other areas? AT&T, because they're attacking the AT&T equipment, is that correct?
Yes, the copper lines, yeah, so it could be AT&T or
Have
Comcast.
occurred in other areas of the whole country. So what sort of practices, policies does AT&T have to avoid this?
okay, I think Ronnie, if you have a contact, could you reach out and see that. It was discussed and we're interested in finding out what they have to say because it's still going
There's
on.
repeat in the same neighborhood,
Yeah.
so they need some camera or something.
It's 9 times total in 2 years.
That's
so-
ridiculous.
And sometimes we're without internet for like 7 days, sometimes 2 days, so.
And then, you know, when they were stealing catalytic converters, you know, and that was, the way they stopped that was by getting to the people who were buying.
Right, exactly.
So if they found out where the copper is being sold, or then they might be able to do the same kind of thing.
Right, like the Sims Metal and these places around here that buy all that.
Yeah.
Looks like Liz has her hand up. Hi, Liz.
Hi, different topic, if that's okay. Ronnie, you had messaged me earlier today asking about an update of the view ordinance meeting.
Yes.
So everybody's in the room who was at that meeting and there were action items. Did you want to just get like a quick update from them?
Yes, that works.
I could address that.
Okay, go ahead.
We did meet, basically, it was sort of an organizational meeting. We each took on a couple of tasks we're gonna follow up on, and we're meeting again, I believe, August 14th. I don't have my calendar. And I think we're all gonna follow up on certain items and come back to the meeting with that information. Some of the items were we talked about just to see if Supervisor Joya is interested. In addition to doing the tree ordinance, I think there's one other ordinance in Kensington we talked about. And we also talked about some people contacting Kensington to see what sort of issues they are having with the ordinance, so we don't adopt an ordinance with the same issues. And also, there was one other thing. I was gonna contact the planning director to see if there's one planner who deals with that ordinance for the county, and to possibly talk to the planner and see what kind of issues they are having from their side. Basically, it's getting background on the actual ordinance. So if there are any issues with it that have been identified, we don't repeat the same. We modify it to cover those issues. So it's a little bit of research before the next step.
Okay.
Does anybody want to add to that?
Liz has her hand up again.
Sorry, I just needed to lower my hand, so.
Mhm.
All right.
I reached out to the Kensington person, and I sent a detailed email to folks that were part of that meeting.
Oh, you did talk to the guy that I had talked to.
Like 2 days after we all met.
Yeah.
He was in Corsica or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I guess one suggestion for because I kind of overheard a little bit on the, like, requiring so the person that's filing the complaint, that they might be responsible for any of like the.
So it was that, the way that they have it in Kensington is that if somebody wants the tree removed, that person would be financially responsible for it. That's how it's written in their view ordinance. But he also said that Kensington was really restrictive, and so if anyone wants to even change windows, they have to ask all of the neighbors, and he recommended us not having that as part of it, but that we should look at how Pacific Palisades actually, and Sausalito and Kensington, and there's like a list of other places that we should look at their view ordinances, because they were built when they first built their communities as view places. And so if we are able to demonstrate that there were no trees, which I think we can through photographs, that there were no trees here to begin with, and so they're not indigenous to here, and that it was a view, and based on the newspaper articles that you brought at the time, they talked about how like, oh, move to like these view places. I think that we could have some sort of better authority on the view ordinance.
So I guess what I was gonna say with that is, so I do like that, because if I have a tree and one of my neighbors doesn't want it, I feel like I shouldn't have to pay for the burden to remove the tree that I want.
They're the one that benefits from it.
Right, but I guess my suggestion is to protect the other person that's filing the complaint. It would also be a good idea to file on there that 2 bids are required, that way there's like, that way the other person doesn't go and get like the highest bid on purpose. So it's like kind of level, so I mean, you like, cause they were mentioning the more things that you can make it clear, the better the ordinance would be, so just wanting to call out, make sure you like look into those kind of gotchas if we want like a soundproof ordinance.
Yeah, we do that on like, when you get sewer lateral grants from the county, they usually want 3 bids so they can compare and contrast so they're not out.
Yeah. So that was the only thing that I was kind of thinking of when I overheard a little bit of that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. There's one other. Is it too late to get a little table or part of a table for immigrant rights at the art festival?
I don't think that we can do that with our.
It's just rights, so it's not about ICE, it's really about immigrant rights. And it's just two.
Do you have an answer to that?
Well, I appreciate John sending that out. I think if you read that insurance carefully, it does have quite a few stipulations that are surprising.
I don't think.
Might cross over.
What?
I'll look at it, or I'll send it to you and you can look at
Will
that.
you?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
There are things that are not, that we can't do in certain areas with politics.
Right.
Demonstrations. Yeah, it's not, the insurance prohibits it. That's why we can't do
religious.
Well, do immigrant rights really cross into that? I mean,
It might say,
like basic
we
rights,
just have to,
right?
we have to read the.
Yeah,
read
and-
that,
We have to read
the
that.
stuff.
I'm pretty sure that Alan's got a full slate as far as people.
Yeah, I think that there's not room,
I don't think there's any.
like he said that there were, like, the tables were all
taken.
I mean, that's one thing, but the other thing, you could wear, if you could wear a sandwich board and walk through with information,
Well, I can bring a chair.
you know.
Here.
Line for the fire effort, does that cross some line?
I'm sorry?
If we're
I
trying
don't
to-
think so, because we're gonna do it at the map.
Right, but if it's the max, so I'm
No,
not
that,
answering that.
I didn't see anything that would prohibit that,
So just read it carefully.
yeah.
I've got an item I wanna just bring up.
Okay.
Which is that we've been waiting a really long time to get this vector map, and it's pretty impossible, and so I wanted to see if we have approval for me to have my graphic designer make a map that's a vector.
Well,
And it's gonna be $50, $30 to $50 probably.
I would say just do it and
Just do
turn
it.
it.
I okay that, I okay that, I
Yes,
think it's
okay.
important.
Okay, so we should have that really soon, I don't know.
Because I saw all that you went back and forth about what.
And that would be a
with
great item
pixelating and all
about,
that stuff, so.
that's a great item of value to give out to the community.
Yeah,
My only thing is just make sure it's,
I told him.
yeah, the,
I'm gonna not have it with every parcel, I'm just gonna have it be more generalized, so that we can use it in lots of ways, because we don't need to have details on it, we just
No.
need to have the general area, so.
Is there anything else that anyone would like to speak at that was not on the agenda
I
tonight?
guess the point.
Yes, Grant.
I appreciated last meeting, Red Cross, I talked about a program for smoke alarms, I actually took them up on it and they came and did it. Get
Good.
an extra room,
Wow.
so I definitely think that's worth letting people know about, so
That's nice. So the Red Cross follows through.
they did.
That's nice.
I guess the other
Practice.
thing,
Okay. Anybody on Zoom that has anything they'd like to talk about? Okay, well, with that, I think we are done. I don't think we've ever had a meeting as big as this.
Yeah.